It is kind of a question mark.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, it is. If you really think about it. I mean,
what's up, potheads and political junkies?
What's up?
Watching Cannabis Culture News live. Jeremiah, why is that mic frapping out anyways?
I like it. Hi, guys.
Be careful with that. Don't yell in their ears, Johnny.
I know.
The crowd at home hates that.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So, Johnny, as you can see, is flying with me yelling into microphones here. And there's an empty seat next to him where
Brian was
Mr.
supposed to show up
Cookie's
with us
supposed to
today.
be.
Supposed to be right here.
I know. I don't know. Maybe he saw you and he was like, oh, guess I don't need to be here now, and hit the road.
Hey, Brian, why don't you cut me?
We have like well, Mr. Cookie is probably coming back.
He's coming back.
No, yeah. Yeah. There he is.
Brian.
Yeah, yes. Don't be yelling in the microphone.
Come on, guys. You've been dealing with
If you
me
do
like
that,
this
you
for the
get
last
slapped.
Couple of years at least, more than that.
And they hate it. It's like, because if somebody's listening on the headphones, they're not listening on the headphones anymore.
Take your headphones off.
You wouldn't be good at those
Did anybody say that it
ASMR
was like dab
things.
time?
So I think it is dab time.
More weed needs to be smoked, John.
And it's also time for me to get the Facebook thing up here so I can make sure that we have our chat working for us. But so, yeah, I mean, it's a big show today, and it's because it's the last show before quote, legalization, unquote.
Well, it's more illegal on legalization.
It was that?
I find it more illegal for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. We should call it illegalization then? I don't know. I think that it's still, I think that's a debatable subject, but I'm pretty sure it's still more legal than it was before.
It's great. You know what the best thing about it is, no one's, there's lots of people can be charged now. But I guess you're not going to get...
What are we looking at with the bud cam here?
You're just going to get, what?
Oh, here. Oh, this is what we're looking at. I see.
That's some nice little Roji Oji.
The Roji OG?
Yeah.
Too heavy for me, man.
I like it.
What's up with the autofocus on that? Oh, there we go. Look at that.
It's got some color in it.
Looks nice. It's dark.
Tastes pretty good.
Very illegal.
Definitely very
This marijuana will remain illegal after
You know
legalization.
what else will remain illegal? All of this stuff here I just found in this ashtray.
Oh.
So all of these concentrates here remain illegal. All your edibles.
Yeah.
Your creams. Thanks, Ryan, for those creams. I don't know about that. You don't know about that. Ryan knows that. So all of those things have actually been working, for pain control and helping me. And every day is now the stuff that I truly needed is now not accessible.
I know.
Like doesn't that seem bizarre? Like you're a patient, you use cannabis for pain.
You gotta start making them yourself now, I guess.
I know, but I mean, how about those guys that are in the hospital? Do you think they can make it while they're lying flat on their back?
No, that's right. They need a friend.
It's absolutely
so
true.
Then I'm gonna bring him an illegal brownie because when I put it in my cart, it doesn't come in a sealed package. It's not unopened, and I'm gonna drive it down to the hospital to give him something that will actually make it feel better, and then I can go to jail for it.
Apparently so.
That's pretty bad.
Just like the beginning of the MMA.
Are we?
It's like the beginning of the MMA.
Do we need to squeeze in to make room here? How's that? Oh, I just can't see that side of it. Sorry. Are we? Look at us. It's a panel
Pretty
today.
good here today. Come on, guys.
It's not bad.
Look at this. Look at this.
we still haven't introduced the people in the hot seat yet because we've been gabbling on. So, which is very rude of us. So I have here in the hot seat. Where's our hot seat cam? We can see. There we are. We can see them. So we have two guests today. Stephanie Ostler from the Yes campaign, and who's running for city council for the Yes campaign, I should say, and Mark Elyas, who's been on the show many times. You guys know Mark and his various projects, but he's also working for the Yes campaign. What's your official title over there? You guys need mics, so grab those mics out of the holsters there, guys.
How much more relaxed he is now than when he was first here a couple years ago, though. Don't you see that?
He's a passionate guy.
Oh, you guys know why he's relaxed.
Yeah, he's been smoking some good green.
Not today.
The illegal stuff.
Oh, shit.
A little bit later. In 5 days when it's legalized.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's the
You don't have a
official
medical
answer.
card?
No.
I can send you to a website and get in about 15 minutes.
I'm going to need one of those too.
He doesn't have a medical problem.
Authorized, good to go. You can use them everywhere.
Yeah. So the Yes campaign has, I think we've talked about on the show a few times before, Hector Bremner running for mayor for the Yes campaign. We've had sort of, I guess, just talks here at Cannabis Culture. He came down, checked the place out, came through, saw the dab bar, saw the whole thing, was very supportive, said that he supports at least 77 dispensaries in the city straight away, because that's how many liquor stores, retail liquor stores we got.
Dispensaries, we're going to call them cannabis
stores. Right, the word dispensary is verboten in the city of Vancouver, and actually I think in the province, because you're not allowed to call them dispensaries. That word is not allowed anywhere near them now. It is, and you're not allowed to claim that the cannabis has any medical benefit. And in fact, you have to send your employees to training, so they will teach them how to tell people that cannabis can hurt them before they sell it to them.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I gotta go get a job there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna have to
look at how much damage it's done to me.
Yeah. No, that's all true. So there's a lot of bizarre regulations coming into place.
Give any advice, like when you go to a liquor store, they're going to tell you that, this Crown Royal or this drink here is, how to mix it or do anything. So
they can't tell you it has medical value at the liquor store either, I guess. But it might. I think that they're getting really restrictive, and hopefully hopefully we can change these laws by continuing to lobby and everything else. So it's not over yet. Remember, it's got to start somewhere. So I'm trying to be optimistic about the incremental approach. There's a lot of, I think, a lot of us in this industry, of course, are a bit more purist, not only because it means our own livelihood, I guess, like, all the dispensaries in the city of Vancouver that, right now, if you go to the city of Vancouver's website, you can look at a map, and it shows you all of the dispensaries that are licensed and all the ones that are not. And there's a hell of a lot more that aren't. There's 19 of them that are. And since the city of Vancouver was taking applications in August of 2015, they've licensed only 19 dispensaries in the city of Vancouver out of like 300 applications or whatever the heck it was.
Over 150 dispensaries about a year and a half ago? Yeah.
Oh, there's more than that. Yeah, 200 or something at one point, 180.
I thought it was about 180 we hit at one point, but I remember the numbers were extremely high just for that one little gap.
And more people applied.
6 on one block. It was hilarious.
But so it's wrong of them to only license 19 in that amount of time. And as we've talked about on the show,
they only have one for legalization. What's wrong with that?
There's only one legal.
It's in Cologne. Everybody, I know.
We do
I heard the freeway is going to be a little busy on that day.
No, I'm doing a run for everyone in Vancouver. So if you guys want weed, just send me an email.
You only carry 28 pounds.
Well, we'll bring a bunch of people.
It's going to be a lot of driving.
I say bring a bus.
A bus, yeah.
Bring everybody in it.
RV life and put like.
But yes, anybody out there who's watching the show today that looks at the title and it says legalization with a question mark, that is kind of the theme of the few days going forward for us. There's a lot of great things about this legalization, just the fact that they're calling it legalization and Canada's passing it. Yay, that's great. But the devil is in the details.
I want to celebrate
And
that.
unfortunately, these details are very devilish, and they would eliminate everything that we do at Cannabis Culture and everything you see in the city of Vancouver at the current moment, besides those 19 stores. But if you do go to those 19 stores to buy your product in the future, those stores and any government stores will be forced to purchase their weed from the government. You can only buy from 21 licensed dispensaries in the province of British Columbia. There's 21 LPs who have the actual deal worked out with the province. There's no craft cannabis available yet anywhere.
I know there's a lot of people working on this. 3 different groups, different craft cannabis groups that I was even talking with Roji today and some of that Jim on what they're doing. So I know a lot of these craft growers are actually talking with a lot of the licensed producers.
They're going to start licensing.
And I do know one thing for sure, that out in Abbotsford yesterday or the day before, one of the representatives from Tweed went around to all the dispensaries out there, left a card behind. Etheria is out there going to all the dispensaries in town.
No, Canopy stopped by our dispensaries.
Well,
and they're stopping by and they're saying, hey, we want you guys to carry our products.
Maybe we have the same cards.
Yeah, which is cool. I totally get that they're sending their people out and everything. But the problem is that most of the pot that's been grown at these big LPs is trash. And it's all the stuff we've had, everything we've looked at is not good stuff. Unfortunately, it's really dry, has no terps. It is not flushed properly. It burns black. It's
well, the whole thing is
mold.
Let's take something. So let me take a jar this big. Okay. And let's put a gram in it. No, but this is the size of the container. Let's say I'm gonna put a gram in there. No humidity control, nothing. No, and we're gonna do this with it, and we're gonna move it around. I'm gonna ship it across the country. I'm gonna put it on the shelf. It's gonna fall over. It's gonna knock around, and then finally, about a month and a half later, it gets to a shelf where you gotta open this and take out some what?
Right.
Where's the triclones? Well, look at them.
Yeah.
They're all inside the can.
Yeah.
How dry is that weed? Well, it's crispy. Does it have any terpenes? No.
It's odd that
Does it have any real value other than that might get you a little stoned because it's a rec market?
the government doesn't understand a simple point about marijuana. Marijuana is a produce project. It's produce product. It's produce. It's like you go to the grocery store and you buy an apple. Guys. If you treat an apple the way that they're going to treat marijuana, the apples aren't going to be very good either. And you don't go to the grocery store and buy an apple in a sealed bag where you can't look at it or feel it beforehand or see anything to do with it.
There's a few places.
It's produce products. There's a few places.
Saran wrapped over.
But at least even in the vending machine you can. Yeah. There's a few.
Squish, and I look at them like. And who swishes through the saran wrap? I do.
Yeah, you can still smell those apples, though. You can sniff those. So, what I was trying to focus on at first here is just some of the municipal points that are contentious ones for us. The proximity rules that say that you can't be within 300 meters of another dispensary or a school or a park or anywhere, grandma's house or whatever else. And but yet there's liquor stores that are like right next to schools all over Vancouver, and you can sit out on the patio and have a beer right next to the school. And everything else.
Wait a second here. This is the best thing, and you talk about that. Right across from elementary school, where I live, there used to be a really nice restaurant. They put a liquor store. Literally, it's from here to the doorway.
Oh, yeah.
From an elementary school, but not just any kind of...
Denman Street, man.
This is a specific school that's for fine arts, so parents pay their kids. They pay big money to go to the school so they can do what they want. It's like one of those, schools. And
a
right
private school. Hey, landlord.
Is a private liquor store, and it's lined up outside with kids standing out there, and it's one of those pictures where you'd laugh at. Like, yeah, they can sell alcohol right beside the elementary school.
Bubblegum vodka you can buy right next to the school. They have a display, actually an end display of bubblegum vodka. I'm not kidding. At Denman Street, there's a school right across from the liquor store. And then down just on the other side of it, they just built a huge new liquor store right across from the school. And there's that's where the patio is that you can sit out front of Centro now. Used to be the hub and drink beers on the patio. So yeah, we got some, we're being treated like second-class citizens. It's not fair. It's not how they treat any other business, even when they sell a dangerous product. So we need fairness with all the other proprietors of all other businesses in Vancouver. We shouldn't be paying $30,000 license fees, and we shouldn't have all these restrictive things. But
it's $7,500 just to apply, non-refundable.
Yeah. Well, there's exactly.
Get the license no matter what that means.
The 7,000 is the
It's like $30,000 non-refundable. Apparently.
But what I'm getting at is we're having an election coming up here in Vancouver and in other municipalities, and it's very important, this election, for our survival, essentially, for the survival of the cannabis culture in Vancouver. We need people who are on our side, who are supportive of these issues. Yeah, and understand what's going on with the cannabis plant, and understand what kind of a plant it is, know how to treat it right. So that takes us to our guest today, because of course one of our guests here is running for one of those positions, City Council.
Certainly am.
Yes, and so Stephanie, what do you know about the platform for your party? Do you know what Hector's been saying? I had a video that I haven't watched yet that Mark gave me of Hector at Butter King's Pain Management Society talking about the platform and stuff, and I never had the chance to watch it, and we don't have any clips of it today because I got bogged down with shit.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
When did I see that?
I don't know. Did Mark didn't publish it or anything? Maybe Butter King.
Published it. I sent it to you for publishing, actually. So.
I know, and I haven't published it.
Yeah.
No. I didn't even watch it. I tried to watch it upstairs for the past 3 hours before this show, and I was bogged down.
Something completely different.
I did notice one thing about the policy. Hector is definitely a proponent of pizza. They were eating pizza in the video.
It's a great thing.
Yeah. He's got a pizza policy that we can get along with too.
I think we're going to need to watch this video after this broadcast.
So.
The video, and I came up on the screen of the news, and there was like my garden. That's when we were fighting for a right to be able to continue to grow our own.
Yeah.
My question is, why should the potheads vote for the Yes Party?
And we've got a lot of great reasons for that.
Tons of great
Yeah.
Say yes to cannabis.
You should tell us.
Yes?
Tell us about a few of those.
Well, that's one right there. Yes.
As you'll see in the video, Jeremiah.
1 minute warning.
Hector, obviously, we want to bring there's 77 alcohol retailers, including government stores in Vancouver. We want to bring that number 77 around there for cannabis retail stores. Now, as for restrictions, distances from schools and other cannabis retail stores, we're actually going to look at it on a case-by-case basis. We're actually going to look at the whole cannabis retail thing, reevaluate, redo the whole thing from scratch.
What role would you guys play in that if you do get elected? I mean, is there a certain role that you...
Well, City Hall has a lot of impact on zoning and permitting, and it's interesting when you talk about how many have been approved, because we've got the slowest permitting department in North America.
Yeah.
So I'm just personally, I'm not in City Hall right now, so I don't know if that is something that has intentionally been done or if it's actually just a product of the process. So I'm personally obsessed with fixing the permitting department. It impacts so many of our lives. It impacts the affordability of houses. It impacts your ability to do business. It impacts...
We have to interrupt you because it's 420.
Oh, happy 420. Happy 420.
Apologize to someone who interrupted.
No.
Yes. No, but that's great to hear, because it's true about the permits. It's not just marijuana permits.
No, it's
or
not.
anything. No, it's everything in the city. Yeah.
It's making housing very unaffordable in the city, and it's one of the major reasons that we have not had a lot of rental purpose buildings being built, because nobody wants to back the project that's going to take 5 to 7 years and cost astronomical CAC fees that are negotiated behind closed doors.
Right.
Totally unfairly.
And you know what? I have my own experience with this recently, because I just opened a retro arcade and vapor lounge called High Score. That's just about a kilometer and a little bit from here on East Hastings and Heatley. Check out High Score, 649 East Hastings.
I've been there.
Yeah, Mark loves it there. Yeah. And so, but I tried to get permitted as a coffee shop. But the licensing inspectors caught wind that I wanted to make it a 420 friendly place, because I said on my Facebook page that I wanted to do that. And so then they said, well, what are you going to do? And I told them what I want to do. I wanted to have people vaporize cannabis inside of it, bring their own cannabis to vaporize, like our vapor lounge. And they're like, well, you can't do that. Or at first they're like, okay, well, if you want to do that, maybe you can. Maybe we'll license you. So write that down, that you want to do that in your letter when you submit it, and then we'll
we can ban you for life.
Right. And so I wrote it down in the letter. They came back and said, no, you can't do that. So they made me resubmit the letter saying that I won't do that I promise not to do that. So I did. I said, okay, well, we won't do that. We'll just have it a retro arcade then, and we'll just do it as like a lounge, regular lounge. We'll smoke out back or whatever. And so they, at that point, not only, they didn't just say no to me. They said, okay, this looks good. We'll give you an answer in a week. Week comes by, no answer. I try to get information. I come down to the place like, we don't even have any record of you being here.
Wow.
And no, I'm not kidding.
Disappointing.
The lady asked me, she's like, oh, did you take a photo over the guy's shoulder when he was working on his computer? And because they said that they had no record of me. And I said that to her. I was like, you want me to take pictures of your workers working on their computer so that I have proof that I've been here? Like, you got to be joking me. And so, but then eventually they found my stuff after I fought with them and had to go down to City Hall again after the 5th time. And in the end, they just ignored me. They never got back to my emails. I bugged them. They didn't respond in the end. And this is the chief license inspector. She went on vacation during the process as well. Her second in command didn't. She said, okay, well, we promise again. They promised me in 1 week. Again, after that, they promised by October 4th that they would absolutely have an answer, or September 4th or whatever it was. And they never did. It was September 4th. Never came back with an answer. So that was just related to getting a coffee shop license.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's what the businesses are experiencing in Vancouver. And if you think about that whole process and how long it takes, if you've got to have architects doing that, standing in lineup, submitting your plans, walking from office to office to make sure it gets put through and accepted, how much is that adding to the cost of building your house?
It's unbelievable.
Well,
it's unbelievable.
The time that it takes. Yeah, I was in City Hall actually applying for a license, and I had to wait in all these lines and stuff. And I seen like legitimate contractors there trying to get their building permit for probably a small part of their job, and they were just like pulling their hair out. You could tell that they were so frustrated. I was just like,
have you guys ever
like all day.
Have you guys ever seen the lineups of architects? Wait, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's happening in every other city. This isn't the standard way to do this this job. And there's no reason that it's still happening today in Vancouver, except that nobody's been willing to tackle it.
They have a system.
It's not happening anywhere else in the Lower Mainland.
Yeah.
Actually, you go to North Vancouver, the city, the district, West Vancouver, Burnaby. They do not have the problems we have when it comes to permitting. It's actually
so what's the campaign promise then? So you guys are you're going to be, if you're elected.
This is just a start.
Right.
One of the things we would like to do is fix the permitting department. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a massive culture shift, but we have to do it. It must be done.
And I mean, I'm assuming that goes for marijuana permits as well.
Well, it's going to have to go for all permits. Yeah, just permits across the board. If we're talking permits, we're talking about legal businesses that have the right to be doing business, and we want them to be doing business in a fair and equitable way. And absolutely all of them,
And it took over a year for me to get my license, and that was just for wholesale distribution.
That's crazy.
And it had to do with all these stupid little steps you had to go through with. Even there was the gap underneath the door was an inch too big, so I had to get these little swoops, and the door didn't close properly, so I had to put a door hinge on it, and it was amazing, but it takes months for them to come back because there's one guy, and he's busy.
Yeah, so there's one guy and he's busy and he goes on holiday a lot. I know, everybody's dealing with the same guy.
Oh, well, he's away today. Stress,
it's brutal.
Because, he was getting 30 people screaming at him yesterday.
Well, and part of the issue, it's not the people, it's the process that's the problem. We have good people who want to do the job, but they're not empowered to do the job properly. And as we're bringing in plans for permits on paper that are hand measured by people that were originally done on digital computers, these things have been done on computers, and we could be accepting them on computers. We could streamline this process so the one guy who's out there permitting everybody can actually get his job done.
So I'm totally down with all that. I mean, we got to change. There's a whole bunch of systems in Vancouver that are really broken. But what I really want to know is, will the Yes Party protect the illegal dispensaries that exist now that want to get legal and want to come forward or even want to continue to sell a good product? Will there be protections from the Yes Party if they move forward? Will you guys be helping us?
Well, that's a tough question to answer. That's kind of loaded, actually. All right. It's very loaded, but I'll answer that. It's not our jurisdiction to enforce this law. As you know, the provincial government is coming up with a cannabis czar. This cannabis czar is going to have 1,000-person staff. As you're well aware.
Mike Farnworth,
All right. And this staff's job is to go after the black market. This is going to be dispensaries, other people who are illicitly trafficking illegal cannabis after legalization.
Right.
So the city is going to have nothing to do with that unless the city chooses to be a part of that. Our campaign has not indicated that we're interested in being a part of that at all. I can name
a part of the enforcement.
A part of the enforcement part of it.
Right.
I can name a candidate, a mayoral candidate that wants to be a part of that
Who?
enforcement. Wei Young.
Oh yeah, Wei Young. Of course. Yeah.
All right. Wei Young, Coalition Vancouver. They're actually against legalization, which is,
they're conservative crackpots.
Yeah. That's the truth.
But so I guess there was two real questions in that one question then, and we should probably split those things up. There's one, the dispensaries that exist now that are selling illegal products at them. That's going to be in one category, and we have a court case going through the courts right now in the city of Vancouver. This test case that would legally protect or seeks to have protection for medical users, protection of dispensaries as an access point for medical users that have a constitutional right to access good quality medicine. So there's that side of it, and I understand that it might be a little hard to go out on a limb on that side. But the other side of it is completely the jurisdiction of the city. And that is, if a place like, say, Cannabis Culture, for instance, wants to get legal, we have huge barriers to getting legal right now because of our proximity to schools and other dispensaries and those kinds of things. So that's what I'm hoping for a commitment on, is that if you guys get elected, you guys will change the things you can change in the municipal government, and it's up to you guys to do it. You're the only ones who can. Only the city councilors can do this.
And the way
city councilors will decide if Cannabis Culture exists or not.
The way we're going to decide on that is, first of all, we need to win the election. That's the first thing. We are going to be deciding, there is going to be a pathway for the dispensaries to become legal, but it's going to be decided on a case-by-case basis. So instead of putting these arbitrary, oh, you've got to be 300 meters away from a school, and we've seen some good dispensaries in this city that are 294 meters away from a school, but they're literally at the perfect location, good traffic area, no kids really in the area because it's downtown, and they're not getting licensed over an arbitrary 6 meters. So dispensaries like those that we feel, hey, would benefit that neighborhood, benefit that community, we're probably going to have our council members. They're the ones that are going to decide, but they're going to probably vote for that as well.
And as we were speaking before the show, I really need to become more informed on a lot of this, because I've been predicting that the federal government would be largely responsible for how a lot of this is rolled out. But I also very much agree with you right off the bat, talking about, I think these are great steps in the right direction. I don't think they're perfect. They're absolutely not perfect. Right. We just have to get it out there. We have to get it legal. We have to roll out legalization safely and make sure that it's done fairly. And then we have to start, I think, consulting and looking at how we can make sure that especially the people who need it the most are protected.
Right.
Yeah.
So you guys don't. So that's good that you don't support raiding them right away. That would be nice.
No.
You know.
But
it's not a great use of city resources either.
Right.
The additional businesses, like let's say we hit 77 and we're going to review it in 2 years, we know that there are going to be other dispensaries opening. They are going to get fined for operating without a business license. We have to treat everybody fairly, okay, and that's part of the fair process.
But the rules have to be fair.
Are not going to like that
the rules
answer.
Have to be fair.
But yeah, the
well,
rules
shouldn't
will
it be?
Fair under
don't you think it should be treated like, I know you're saying on a case by case basis, but why is it that we don't treat cannabis businesses like any other business?
I think we will. I think eventually we will. I think that this is new. I didn't expect it to really happen so quickly. I think that we have to see what's going to happen eventually. Yeah, I don't know what timeline that is.
Yeah.
Give Dana the mic.
Yeah. Well,
another thing
Dana,
I'd like to point out is that we are a big proponent of lounges. Hector keeps saying this.
Yeah.
You're not allowed, according to the provincial government, we're not allowed to smoke it in parks, public, near anywhere really. You can't smoke it in your car because that's smoking and driving. That's illegal. If you live in a strata, your strata can vote to say no cannabis use in the building. If you're a renter, good luck. 70%.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, where are the smokers, the users, the vapors? Where are they supposed to go? So we are a big proponent of lounges. Hector did indicate that if he becomes mayor, he's actually going to pressure the provincial government into allowing lounges.
That would be fantastic. And he came to this lounge, I gotta say. Hung out with us, sat right on that couch. And yeah, that was very cool. Here, Dana Larsen here, activist extraordinaire.
Yeah, I just wanted to, thanks for being here. It's very good that people are showing up here in an unlicensed lounge where we're breaking the smoking bylaws and breaking a bunch of other rules just by being here, right? And I think that it's hard for city councilors to say this, but what we need is to not enforce a lot of these laws, right? And even if we have like legal shops on that, for instance, there was recently a big kerfuffle over seizing cannabis from the overdose prevention site that Sarah Blythe was giving and selling it under cost to people. Yeah. Well, that's not going to be allowed under the legal system. You're not even, a dispensary or cannabis shops aren't even allowed to sell it for less than retail, even if they want to absorb that loss and provide it. But at the same time, we'd probably all agree that having a place that provides low-cost cannabis to people who are using opiates, the substitution is probably a good idea, and not like something the city should be prioritizing or the police should be prioritizing going after. But I think that it's, and I know it's hard for a council to say, I'm going to not enforce these laws, right? But even for the next year or two, when there's not going to be a lot of legal shops around, it's going to take a while, at least a year, I think, before we start getting a good number of shops in the city. And there's certainly places that, or people that need access to medicinal products and extracts. Those aren't going to be available under the legal system for at least a year, maybe longer. So I'm someone who runs dispensaries, and I'm not going to shut down or stop doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep going on. I would like to stay operating until the time comes when I'm not needed, because the legal system is providing all the stuff that I'm providing, and then I don't care. I'm happy to shut down or whatever. But especially for medical users to not have access to those kind of products, even for a year or a year and a half, is very challenging, right? So I'm hoping that our next city council, whoever they are, will go slowly, because it's going to take a very long time. And we see a lot of rhetoric from the BC government. We're going to crack down on these guys, and they only got one shop open. Cracking down when you've only got one shop open in the province is the wrong priorities, right? So I just hope that we see a council, and if you're elected, and if it's yes, that they take some time in enforcing this stuff and don't try to make it a high priority. And for a lot of it, if this province wants to send in their people to enforce stuff, that's up to them. But I think it's going to be challenging for the VPD. They don't really want to come after these places, although I guess they do want to go after the overdose prevention site weed, because that was them kind of prioritizing that on their own and that. But I guess my thing is, you got to not enforce these laws, a lot of this stuff, and allow things to happen that are helping people. I mean, even Sarah Blythe's overdose prevention site was against the law when she started, and is still kind of not fully licensed or whatever, right? So a lot of this harm reduction stuff involves breaking the laws and not enforcing the laws, because they're often the problem. So I don't know if it's a question or not, or just a speech.
No,
but
you bring up a lot of great
those
points.
are important things.
And one of the reasons I am here is not to so much speak on behalf of what I can do specifically while we're facing legalization, but it's to become educated myself, because I have not talked to enough stakeholders. I met an amazing person today who's sitting in the middle of this threesome telling his story about how marijuana saved his life, and these are people that we need to consider, we need to talk to, and we need to make sure that everybody is safe and everybody's heard. So this is such a valuable opportunity.
I'll just add one more thing, and then I'll give you back the mic, Jer. You guys were complaining about how slow things are for your licensing process, but I kind of wonder if they were like, well, we can't give this guy a license because it's against all the rules, but we also don't want to like stop him or shut him down, so we're just going to stop taking his calls and let things continue on for a while. Because I don't think they're not coming by, they're not giving you fines, they're not coming by saying you got to get a permit or get closed. They're just kind of letting you, they're ignoring you, right? Which is what they've done here for many years, right? This place has never really been licensed. Obviously, everybody knows what they made them put a no smoking sticker on the front door at one point.
They make us put this on everything. I've got a bunch of business.
But nobody, it's not a priority, and they know that if they come here and cause trouble, it's going to be a huge backlash, because everybody here is organized and political, and I don't think anybody's really calling the city too much, saying you got to shut down those cannabis culture guys. So, but I think sometimes that's why they're just not. They're making it so slow, is because they just don't want to cause trouble, and they're probably waiting until a new council comes in and they get whether it's going to be send in the troops or give them permits, or maybe we just ignore them for another 4 years. But I think that's why they're not getting back to you. They don't want to give you a permit, and they don't want to cause trouble with you.
I should have even mentioned that myself, because that's my thoughts on it as well. I think that I just bugged them so much about it. They're just like, oh my God, Jeremiah, leave us alone, whatever. Just do whatever the fuck you want. Like, and I'm serious, because that's what they really do that eventually. They just like, because they know people like me are a big hassle to say no to, because we make a big fuss and we have access to the mainstream media and everything else. So a lot of times, like Cannabis Culture here, the license inspector told me before that the New Amsterdam Cannabis Culture are grandfathered in. Whatever that means, we're grandfathered in. So we'll take it. That's great.
That's a good thing.
But what about everybody else, though?
Yeah.
Because it's nice that, it's great that if you're at the squeaky wheel or whatever, they just basically try to shut you up by rolling you out somewhere else. But I don't, to me, it's about everybody. It's not about whether we get it or not. This is a fight for fairness, and we need fairness in cannabis laws, and we need to stop this damn war against people and stop treating us like second-class citizens.
Well, we say yes to fairness.
Good.
These are really, really great and really important questions, and I think a lot of them will only start getting answers to right after legalization. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's coming, and
and I think right now
we have to ask the tough. If you
guys
don't
start
fight this fight and
licensing
ask the tough
more
questions, things won't change.
Cannabis bakeries.
And on the positive side of things, I did want to say that the federal government seems like they are going to open up they don't seem like they are going to open up the licensing to microcultivation cultivators and the craft side of things, you could say, with these new rules that are coming out on October 17th. So people that are growers will be able to get licensed, and hopefully it'll happen pretty damn quick, because we've heard from our back root for lawyers who hear whispers and stuff that in the federal government, in the provincial government, they know that they don't have enough supply. They don't have enough supply for even their one store, probably.
I can pretty much tell you right now, there's LPs that are struggling and trying to find weed probably for October 17th because they just don't have the supply. No. I was talking to one LP, they have one strain. Yeah. Like a lot of these licensed producers only have
Aurora?
1 or 2 strains. I don't know what they have.
Aurora has one strain. And part of the reason that they only have one strain, they say they actually have more cannabis, but they don't have the packaging because the federal government put a rule. So there are more negative things here. Now we're about to get into some of them. Yeah. The federal government has put a rule that says all the packages have to have this stamp on them. And so
it's just like a cigarette stamp. It has to have a tax stamp.
It's a tax, an excise stamp.
It's something that's wrapping around it. The seal is saying that it's tax.
Right.
And I've already gone through that because
And so now all the LPs are up in arms because the government just is like, oh, now you got to put the stamp on everything. Well, they literally have to hire teams of people at each of these places to sit there and put stamps on all these things. And there's no way that they can possibly do it. It's not in their budgets. It's not possible. And they're out of stamps.
There's not enough glue for the stickers to put on these things, and some of the LPs.
Is that real? Dana says they're out of glue for the stamps.
No glue.
No glue.
Oh my God.
We're waiting for the stickers to come, and they're like, we don't have enough.
It's like
so we're running out of stickers, running out of glue.
It's like the movie
They
Brazil.
planned for this.
Yeah.
And once again, I mean, how much cannabis is actually sitting down there on a shelf waiting to be shipped to the one store in Kamloops?
How long? How much?
Sitting on but if there's 21 LPs supplying BC, then they're supplying the one store.
Nobody's going to buy their garbage product. Nobody's going to buy their garbage product. Who's going to buy it? You're going to have a bunch of noobs that go in there like, oh, yeah, look.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of people who have never tried.
Bro,
think of the amount of people who have never tried cannabis who are going to go in and try it, get that feeling of how much it's helping them for whatever they're going through, and they're going to seek out better. They're going to see the better ways because they're going to realize, I mean, like with me, when I ate that first brownie that was decarbed, I realized what it did to me. It took the pain away. That's why I chased it so much. Because it helped me so much. So I chased what got rid of the pain.
But
once someone finds that, they're going to chase something that's going to work.
I have a theory about this, though, that cannabis people are more snobby than any other group of people. They're more snobby than the wine people. They're more snobby than the cigar people.
Yep.
It's that they're connoisseurs, and they know what good weed is. Anybody who smokes pot knows what good fucking weed looks like.
I've been accused of being a snob more than once.
You're the snobbiest of all.
Yeah, we're the cannabis snobbiest. I'm a weed snob too.
These two have about,
if you don't even get any more you know it's good. So.
Yeah.
If people have me joints, I'm like, sorry.
But I think that,
people pass me joints and I just go like this.
Oh, you're always like this. Brian's like, I'm sick.
But everybody who smokes weed, even the noobs, are like, eventually, after a couple times, you become an expert. It doesn't take that long to figure out what's good and what's not. Part of the Dana with a quote here.
Got a quote.
Part of the problem is we're getting those little excise stamps. We're short of stickers and we can't ship without them. Mr. Paul added. One of the LPs. Mr. Paul himself is an LP. A bottleneck is forming at the point where the adhesive is applied to the stamps. Multiple sources say. Hire some glue men.
That doesn't even make sense.
Some glue jockeys.
So they have little stamps of paper, but no glue on them. Like, what is this?
There's a shortage on horse hooves or whatever.
Well, it's crazy. It's pretty much just a tax stamp.
Get Elmer's on the phone.
Right? So they know.
But the tobacco industry, they didn't run out, did they?
Oh, no, probably not.
Well, the tobacco industry's been around forever.
Yeah, they got glue up the
So when is Rothman's or Demore or Export A coming in?
They're already in. What are you talking about?
Which one have they owned?
Jesus. They're probably in. They're own all of them. No. They're tobacco. They know how to grow big crops and make it smoke well.
You know who knows how to grow big crops? Sorry. You know, I was watching Strain Hunters the other day, and you go in those fields in the middle of India or Africa, and as far as you can see, those farmers have been doing it for hundreds of years, and it's been in those. Those are the ones that know how to pesticide-free, land raised, no hermy, no genetically modified. The real. I mean, that's the community that it's about really to get hurt. Really, if you really look around, what's happening. It's what's happening over in different parts of the world. It's We're ready to change everything.
Well, you brought up micro producers.
Yes.
All right. Well, there's one thing that the city is planning on doing is we plan on making amendments to our industrial zones to allow for these micro producers. We are
Any heads up on when that is?
Encouraging the extract producers, the ones that will have licenses to produce oils and extracts. Edibles are going to be legal according to the federal government in a year.
So we're talking about proper bakeries that are going to be licensed.
Yeah.
Yep.
For 420.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say there is a clause that says
up to the federal government.
they're supposed to. The amendment they made says it's supposed to be within 12 months that they legalize edibles.
Yeah.
Well, they have to because of how much they know it helps.
So by October 2019, we'll be looking at edibles being legal. That looks like the deadline.
Yeah.
So we would like those to be produced in Vancouver. We would also like to see a lot of research and development. I mean, Vancouver cured AIDS. All right. I mean, not the city itself, but researchers in this city cured AIDS, essentially.
Cured?
Well, not necessarily. Not
That's quite a statement there.
I said it's a huge statement.
I'm not sure. Are you sure about that one?
What? Nobody's dying from AIDS, from HIV.
That's not a cure, though. If we're getting still, it's got to be sticky about that one.
I'm going to use the word because essentially it is.
Hey, we got the cure to cannabis right here.
Riled up.
Cure to cannabis is in my hand.
And this is thanks to researchers.
Cures for everything.
People who are HIV positive live.
We had an epidemic here in 1980, in the mid 80s.
All right.
In the 90s,
I get your point, but I challenge you on the word cure because you can't use that word yet.
I think you're right, but it's at least you're just trying to make an emphasis on how the city can be a leader.
Yes, hyperbolic.
Well, you know, one thing I have to say.
Cannabis for many years.
I was going to say that, Brian, is cannabis culture. This building has been really a focal point on the cannabis community around the world because of the ports and because of Vancouver has been. It's like people come here, like I know myself and like with Dana, we've been around here for years, 10, 15, 20 years, and we've seen how things have generated from BC and how it impacts on the rest of the world. Vancouver is it's such a focal point for that, and you see that because all the different schools that were coming here, all the educational stuff, they always came here, and the people that we got to meet around the world over the years, and you really got to see how things worked around the world by just being
hotspot, man.
At this hotspot,
activist hotspot.
Yeah, it's being an activist hotspot
it's
too.
The hub.
It's just full of the most remarkable people in the world.
Right, so
it really is.
It's basically
landlord got the stats.
Landlord.
That's why you need to vote for us.
Second largest port in the Pacific.
Yeah,
we need people to afford to live in this city.
All right.
So we can continue to.
Well, we say yes.
Action plan. So
it's 49 pages long. It's talking about housing. It's riveting, and I don't say that with an ounce of sarcasm. But it talks about the history of Vancouver and how we ended up with the housing problem that we have, and
it's huge,
and how we can work towards getting out of it. It's not going to be an overnight solution, but this is something we really need to talk about doing, and we've got the most thorough plan out of any party.
I wish I knew more about housing so I could ask you some really articulate questions about it. I know very little about it, but
it's expensive.
But
it's not just rent; it's low income housing, and where it's being.
I know that we have a problem because housing is too expensive here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of housing, but it's not being used in the best way, though. So the one criticism I've heard of the Yes Party's policy on the whole housing thing would be related to this idea of just increasing the amount of the housing rather than sort of targeting the pricing of housing.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of a supply and demand when you're talking about pricing, but what we really want to do is target what type of housing is built. Mm-hmm. So one of our focuses is on building rental purpose. We need a lot of rental purpose housing. We've vastly discouraged people from building rental purpose housing in this city. And we've been, the CMHC says that we need to have a minimum of a 3% vacancy rating in order to have a healthy housing market. We haven't come near 3% in over 25 years. Yeah. So we don't have any market competition, and I don't know how many people in this room are renters, but I imagine a lot of us are. I certainly am. And so, everyone. You know, a lot of the conversation that people, they're worried about foreign buyers and stuff like that, but the rental market is something we really need to focus on fixing.
Yeah.
And if we could create some healthy competition and some options, like even if rental prices in each individual unit that's already on the books right now did not come down, but if we offered options, you'd have the choice between the $900 apartment here or the $1,200 apartment here or the $500, but we don't. When you are faced with the conundrum of finding an apartment, you get one choice and you're lucky if you're their top pick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we need a lot of volume, and I think that people can easily distract from the point that we need volume. Yeah. We have not been building more housing. We look around, we see these big towers going up, and we think we're building a lot. And the reason that those big towers do go up is because it's been illegal to build most types of housing on most of the land in Vancouver. About 80% of the land is for single-family units, which is now, because of the new rules passed at City Hall recently, open up to duplexes. But we have not been building something that we now call the missing middle. We have not been building housing that the middle class usually inhabits. And we've been building expensive towers, really expensive apartments, and we've been building mansions. Mm-hmm. That's what we've gotten good at building. Yeah. And we can't all go live in basements. It's not a solution. We really need to put housing on the books.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, that sounds very good.
Very good.
I mean, we obviously rhetorically it sounds good, but and I think when we get down to the details and stuff, I don't know anything about it. I'd need to research, but what you say makes total sense to me. Like, well, I don't know. I think we need both lots of housing and to target it the right way, right? I'm not an expert by any means on this subject. I actually know nothing about it.
Well, and I think that we can do an adequate trade here. I think that you need to inform me on legalization, and I can inform you on housing. That
sounds fair to me.
We've got a deal.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Well, I look forward to that in the future, and we should absolutely do more of that. And I'm happy to provide you with, and we have a lot of access here to all kinds of activists and people that have been doing this for a long time, perspectives from all kinds of different angles. Obviously, we have our bias. We like marijuana. But
it helps us.
And we like freedom. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
You're well informed, and you're going to have a bias as anybody would, and I'd like to be able to learn from that.
Very cool. Well, I'm very thankful to hear of how open you guys are, or how open you are specifically to this subject and learning about this, because we got lots to tell you.
I've already learned so much today.
Yeah, we got way too much to tell you.
And Stephanie's speaking on behalf of all the yes candidates.
Good. Oh, okay.
We've got a good team.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
So everybody's listening over there. Well, that's great. And I as soon as Hector came into the building, I knew that he was a different kind of politician. Yeah. Nobody does that. Nobody comes down here. Like, I don't think anybody has.
He was ready to jump on the show there just right away. Want to come on the show? He was like, oh, yeah. But then
he was ready to go on the show. We didn't want to ambush him with a bunch of hard-ass questions, though, because we were like, we better give this guy a chance. Like,
he's in.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I think that just even, like, having you guys here is amazing. And, like, and I think everything you've said, lounges, dispensaries, 77 of them, all this stuff, that's all very positive stuff. So, production too.
We really want Vancouver to shine. We know Vancouver's in the center for cannabis globally. Right?
Globally,
yeah. Right?
Hell yeah.
We want to keep it that way.
BC Bud,
in 2012, I went to Amsterdam, and I went there to get away. And I remember walking into the club, and I go, like, you remember this thing? What's the best weed they brought out? What did they bring out? Was it the Tuxedo Time from Gabriel Island on Vancouver? And we laughed because Brian was there. He's like, I remember this. And we're like, yeah, no, we get that stuff every day. Come on, give us something else. Come on.
More like a long flowering haze.
Yeah, long flowering haze. But, I mean, and then before that, BC Bud has been known around the world. It's got a great name. It's got a great reputation, just like Cannabis Culture. So, it's great to hear that the Yes Party is looking towards making Vancouver more cannabis friendly.
420 friendly.
Should consider being leaders in the field.
Do you guys have anybody on the park board running?
Yeah,
you do? Good.
Leo Heva.
Thank God. Oh my Lord.
Good. Super cool.
Okay.
He's going to make it legal for you to have a drink in the park.
Yeah, see, I love that. I like
They're
that
going to
idea
start serving
too.
alcohol on the beaches. Yeah. So can we have we
smoke
on the beaches too?
Yeah.
Carly Marley.
Carly Marley.
Peanut Gallery. Hi, Carly Marley.
Come this side.
Hi, Carly.
Yeah. You want to come over here?
Pile in here.
I'm just
kind of curious because I've been reading about the beer on the beach policy, and it seems that the only, it's not that we can go and buy a liquor for the same price we can at a store and bring it to the beach and have a picnic. It's that there's supposed to be carts, and we can only buy the beers from there, and then we have to stay in the special designated beer drinking zones. To me, it's that's not much different than going.
Yeah, that's not our policy.
That's not the policy that you guys are. Okay, cool. That's good to know. That's really good to know.
Yeah. What is your guys' policy on booze?
The way we feel about it is that we're mostly adults in this city, and if you'd like to have a drink on the beach, we have litter laws and we have drunk in public laws.
Yeah.
If you can be mature and keep it to yourself and have a drink, there's no reason that we should have this sort of double standard where we penalize some people for it, we allow other people to get away with it, it's just kind of a waste of city resources.
Thank you.
100%.
Yep.
Man, wow, that's so great to hear.
Yeah,
because it really is. That's the
world.
sensible way of talking about it. That's the sensible way of dealing with it. And it's not some underhanded money grab like what Carly was talking about. Carly, you read that to me the other day about how there's all these rules and you can only, and the liquor's the price of the liquor's all inflated. It's not like you can bring your own liquor or something.
Does anybody know whose plan that is?
I believe that's a city plan.
It's just on the news.
Yeah, the city staff.
People have been talking to me about the corralled areas. Yeah, I didn't want to say any specific party, but I just wanted to know.
Right. The V word.
Yeah,
the V word's a nasty word around here these days, but
trying to get their more monies.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm not.
That's their vision.
It's just
yeah, that's their vision.
I don't know.
Fatter
it's
stack.
a poor way of managing that too. It's not a well-managed system, and it actually kind of, in my opinion, sort of multiplies the problem that we have, where some people are being penalized and other people are not, and where's the line drawn, and
it's exploitation, though.
Yeah.
It's instead of dealing with it in a sensible way and based on the freedom of a citizen to do what they want to do
safely without impacting others,
without hurting somebody else. They do this serious, it's a whole money grab thing. They do this exploitation where they have a group of people that are doing this activity. They're like, we can sell them expensive beer and make a bunch of cash off it instead of allowing them to bring their own. It's just it makes me cynical because it's just these politicians they don't care about the citizens. They're working for people who are making cash.
I also think a lot of the time they're just not coming out of City Hall and talking to people. I really get the impression that what has been going on with a lot of politicians is not getting out into the real world and having conversations. And they're not perfect people. They're not always going to please you, and they can't make everyone happy. That's just not possible. But I don't get the impression that the people who have been working there for the last 8 years have been getting out into the community.
They don't see what's going on.
No.
And you might be totally right. They're just these bureaucratic, but again, I know
they listen to you, Jared, because you go in there and squawk at them.
I do. They see me a lot.
But you go into them. They don't have any.
I do, and I do know. I was going to say, I do know some of these people, and I know some of their types of people who have worked with us in the past as activists and other things, and there's a lot of really great people, I think, as well. But it's some of the people who are developing the policy that have a kind of Machiavellian attitude about these things.
Right,
and they might be left-wing and they might be progressive or whatever, but they're the types that, they're the ones in charge of places like the BCGEU and some of these other places. These guys are fucking Machiavellian, and I know them because I used to be part of the BCGEU and I used to be part of and I know a lot of these guys who are doing this kind of stuff, and they don't actually, it's weird to them. It's a game. It's like a political game.
I like that you bring this up.
They get off on it. It's it's their fetish. And it's weird. It's the gang mentality of their group, but they're working towards getting their group through no matter what. And it's not even, I don't even think they give a shit about the policies. They all smoke weed. But it's it's just this weird game to them. And I don't know how to describe it other than that.
Well, and this election's a really good opportunity to get a fresh batch of people. There are not a lot of people who have been at City Hall running again. And I think it's a great opportunity to ask what kind of people we'd like to give the change to. So we've got a lot of millennials. There was a list recently released of everyone running under 40. That was really cool. So because there's so many candidates running, it's hard to become informed on everyone. But I bumped into a woman who said that she was educating herself on all the female candidates and finding ways to narrow down and figure out sort of what is your vision for the future, and then just go study those people.
I need to get an education on who's running real quick because the election's on the 20th, right? And Carly,
you've been educated. You know who to vote for.
Well, I'm voting for these guys. I'm voting for the Yes Party people.
Vote for Yes.
And I was going to vote for the Green Party, or at least Adrienne Carr and a few others, because I've talked to Adrienne many times, and we've talked about this issue. She's very supportive.
And where your vote lies is going to make sure you're going to get the right people in the play. And sometimes you got to take a look at, maybe it's not the person you want to vote for.
Yeah.
But your vote could make a difference to get someone in like the Yes Party, or someone who's going to go against someone like ourselves. Like
very good. But as Carly,
selective voting is huge,
big time.
and I know it's a big thing, and you need to vote.
There's not that many people actually voting, so your vote makes a hell of a difference. And especially if you can get a bunch of friends together to go do it, man, you can take over just about anything you want.
Well, I was just talking with other dispensary owners, and they were talking about that. You know what? You can actually swing this election by getting go to all of the dispensaries and talk to all the patients out there and say, this is who you vote for, and you can basically change voting by just the.
We got a lot of work to do in like half a week.
How much the compassionate clubs and the communities around here that are going to support someone like yourself, go around and talk and say, we're here to support you, and you get those patients to vote yes, you're going to swing that majority vote, in my opinion.
Completely right. And one thing that I've been asking people at the doors who do seem passionate and afraid of what's going to happen this election, I've been asking them to inform 5 of their friends.
Yeah.
Because if that's how we can spread the word, because not everybody has the time or the knowledge, not everybody knows how extensive the list of candidates is, but if you're a person who can get informed on just a couple people you really like, and you can tell 5 of your friends, that makes a huge difference.
Big time.
If you're supporting the cannabis community and the medical patients here in Vancouver, I think just that voice alone to those patients, letting you know that we're going to stand up for us and make sure that we're able to continue getting what we're access to control what we deal with on an everyday basis, those people alone can swing that vote.
Absolutely, they could.
Carly is just waiting for her phone back here because she's passed me an article here in Vancouver's Awesome. You might be able to drink booze in public after next month's election in Vancouver. This is in regards to a Green Party press release that came out. They want to introduce a pilot program they hope to launch in Vancouver beaches and parks. Should their candidates be elected, says that you can have drinking on the beach. Sounds pretty good to me.
But how is that any different than going to a patio and drinking and paying the premium price to drink on a patio?
Well,
It's not any cheaper. It's not any more affordable. It's still going to be the same people subjectified.
It's better than nothing at all, though.
Well, if we already have patios, spaces you can drink in the parks.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Long as we can smoke,
right now,
you should be able to bring your own.
Pack down and have a picnic, which is what people want to do at a park. They don't want to sit in a designated
1986.
area where they don't want their kids or parents supposed to go.
Yep.
In a park.
I'm with you.
And have a cool beer.
I'm with you.
Well, then vote yes. We only have one
yes.
park board candidate, but he's not planning to restrict the areas. And
cool. Vote yes for park board for sure, and don't vote for Stuart McKinnon. Please don't vote for Stuart McKinnon. Whatever you do, don't vote for Stuart McKinnon. Vote for everybody but him, or don't vote for any NPA folks on the park board either, because they always are bad. Like,
get out and vote. Vote for what you believe in, and vote on how you know what's.
They're not good to our issue.
I'm going to vote for Coalition Vancouver and PA Stay Home.
Yeah, do not vote for those guys. No.
I don't think
we're gonna try.
No,
Anil actually might have a little bit more on this subject. Anil, do you want to do a little report on any research that you've done on this? Do you have something to?
What do you want?
Because this is the last show before. Wait, we don't have another show before the election, do we?
No.
Oh, we do have one more.
This is the last show before legalization.
Not before legalization.
Next week we'll be illegal.
What day is the election on?
Yeah, with legalization, next
Saturday?
week we'll be illegal doing this. But right now it's always.
I thought it was the 20th.
It hasn't been.
It's still illegal doing it.
But it is. But next week after legalization.
In Canada, what day is the election?
October 20th.
October 20th.
There's advance voting right now, so October 10th to 17th. I already went and voted. It was amazing.
That's very cool.
Advance voting is so efficient. If you can, go advance vote.
Yeah, I wish that
It's Michelle Rainy Day on October 20th too. Just saying that out there.
Yes is all over the ballot. I can tell you where I am because I'm easy to find. I'm 5th from the bottom of the ballot.
Oh,
super easy to find. It's like a high five.
Yeah.
High five. Say yes to cannabis.
So it's all of Vancouver. Yeah. So everyone in Vancouver can vote yes, but it'll say yes next to our candidates' names.
Do you know how many people are on the ballot?
It's 158.
So it's 158.
Running for 28 positions.
They give you a novel.
And you get to pick one?
28 positions.
No, you get to pick a lot. Okay,
Good.
so this is one of the things that scares me that people don't know when they go to vote. I get asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And one thing they think is that you only get to vote for one candidate. You get to vote for 10 city council think it's 7 park board, 9 school board, and 1 mayor. That's a lot of people you get to vote for.
You're busy, guys, so make sure you roll up a couple big fatties.
Just vote yes.
And vote yes.
Just vote yes. Vote yes. Get in touch with the candidates. Talk to the candidates. We are very busy, and we are being inundated with messages. But just because we don't respond, and I mean this for all the candidates in the election, just because we don't respond doesn't mean we don't see it.
Yeah,
and it's really important that when people message us, they're letting us know what their priorities are. Mm-hmm. So if everybody who's watching this today wants to get on my Facebook page, Stephanie for City Council, and send me a message, I may not be able to respond, but then I know how you're feeling, and I know this conversation impacted you, and I can take that into consideration.
There you go.
There you go.
Hit up Stephanie's. Give us all. Drop all your. You got all the social media, Twitter, and all that stuff.
Yeah. So mine, everything is Stephanie for yes.
Okay.
So it's really easy. Stephanie for yes.
Very cool.
That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. My email, stephanie4yes@gmail.com.
Is it
awesome.
Number 4 or is it
no,
FOR?
it's FOR. STEPHANIEFORYES.
Very cool. And
we
we didn't really get into anything else about you other than the marijuana policies and stuff. But you're an interesting character yourself.
Severely interesting.
Yeah. And so I did read about you, and I actually have seen stuff about you in the past.
Oh, cool.
In the news randomly here and there, because you kind of there's articles about you. You do pop up because you have a clothing store, Devil May Wear, that you've been doing amazing work, and we were talking about it. Youth entrepreneur stuff. You've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I've been doing it since I was in high school.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So we've got a store on Granville Island and a store on Main Street now. I've got amazing, hardworking, dedicated staff that are working so hard during this election as I have abandoned them to their jobs because they know also how important this housing is. And I also am now the vice president of a new healthcare company called Articare.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really fun. So.
And what is that exactly?
So Articare is developing a new platform for in-home healthcare using the gig economy to bring the care workers to the people in need. So we will cut out the placement agency, making the process much more efficient, and then we can pay the care workers a lot more money, save families money, which is so important. Right now, one in four millennials are spending over 20 hours a week caring for an aging relative. That's enormous. So this isn't just a seniors issue. This is all of our issues. Anybody with a family, it's an issue.
I was an injured worker, and I had someone come in and look after me when I got out of the hospital, had Meals on Wheels, and then I had a live-in nurse from 9 until 3 p.m. for the first couple of weeks when I got home from the hospital. So, I mean, it's really needed for those type of jobs and stuff like that, 100%.
Not everything is paid for by our medical. It's not covered. So the things that we're providing for are things that are already not covered. Nice. And I'm really excited about that. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's very cool. And I think when I was just looking I was Googling you earlier, actually. And there was a Greenpeace flag article that came up.
That up.
I did, yeah. I wanted to hear about this.
I like that. I'm sad because we were in the Best of Georgia Strait. Devil May Wear got best local independent designer clothing store in Vancouver. And I also, in another article, got best, not me exclusively, best, what was it? Best protest. And
cool.
I was approached by Greenpeace to sew these 40-foot flags. I had no idea what they were for, but it just sounded like a really interesting project.
Yeah.
40 feet is a lot longer than you think it is. And I said to them when they asked me, I said, you guys are in luck. I've got a really long table. I brought it home. I started measuring out. The table's 2.5 meters long. Luckily, the courtyard of my building has a flat space that happens to be about 42 feet long. Otherwise, I would have been rolling it out into the street. But it was really interesting.
And it was a flag that was made of, was it underwear or something?
Made of underwear.
They said frilly.
So that was funny. So there was an article written about me that said frilly underwear maker turned flag protest, whatever that was.
Okay, that's what it was.
I got inundated with messages from my friends who were so upset and insulted about that about that title. How about entrepreneur? How about industrious woman? How about, it just...
Exactly, because that's what I was thinking. Your shop is about a lot more than just underwear.
It's about a lot more than just underwear, and even the stuff that I make.
Was that the Georgia Strait that did that?
No, it was, I think it was the Vancouver Sun.
Oh, wow. Oh, Jesus, of course. Jesus. Yeah. They do a lot of those kind of headlines, though.
I mean, it was a catchy headline, and I didn't even think twice about it until my friends started getting upset. But
really, underwear. Yeah, why would they just choose that particular thing about
because it's catchy. You brought it up.
Right, I did, and that's what I did. I thought they were relating it to the flag, though. I guess I just didn't really read close enough.
They were made out of ripstop. It was 2 colors of ripstop. So I made they were big triangles, and then we made the square flags that hung from the protesters themselves.
That's so cool.
It was really cool. I can't remember how many. It was about 7 flags.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun.
And
I love taking interesting jobs.
Do you know why they approached you?
I do, because it was a friend posted on Facebook, anybody want to sew 40-foot flags? And I responded,
that was you.
Sounds weird.
That was it.
And nobody else could take it. Nobody has that kind of space.
Right.
And not many people have the industrial sewing machines that are going to sew through, I mean, the ripstop's thin, but they had climbing ropes, and the climbing ropes are very, very thick. And they kept on telling me that these needed to be strong enough for high wind. And they're plenty strong. I don't know what you're talking about, but I had no idea what they were doing. When that got unveiled, I was shocked.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, that's very cool. Well, Greenpeace. So there's some activism already built in.
Oh, yeah. We're all a little bit.
Very cool. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on today and talking about all this stuff. And of course, I would love to continue to talk to you about these things.
You and I
are exactly. Whether you're elected or not. It's a cool thing, and
we're here every Friday.
Can I add one thing?
Absolutely not.
We need your help.
What do you need help with?
We need donors. We need donations. So if everybody can go to yesvancouver.ca and hit the donate button, and we'll know it's you if you donate $4.20.
$4.20.
I was going to say on that people don't realize how much little donations add up. You think,
they do.
I can't afford, because we're not funded by companies. It's only individual donations,
right.
So you have to go to people one-on-one, and they go, well, I don't have a lot of money, and I'll take your pocket change. Seriously, it adds up.
$4.20. No, but if you can donate, I would try to donate $42 maybe.
But $420.
$420.
Yeah. There's a maximum of $1,200 though.
Yeah. So maybe you can send. Yeah, I don't know.
In an increment.
We'll take those $1,200.
My math isn't good enough.
You go 710 too. Don't forget that. If you want to go a little bit more, you go 710.
710. There you go.
Yeah,
but it's
710. Then add the 420. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10. You can go 11:30.
And I was going to say that's probably what
I'm just trying to. I'm just throwing some numbers out there for you guys.
There's a lot of people who might be watching that don't have a heck of a lot of cash to throw around. Yeah. And
42 cents.
If you're in the city of Vancouver, volunteering for you guys is probably a really great thing. Because I think
what helps because pressing share on this video.
So everybody can see it. That also helps. Tell your friends, tell grandma to vote yes. Yeah. But I think in this particular election, because of the amount of people that are actually running in this election, ground game is important. Yes. Like getting people out to those the polling spots, getting people driving old ladies to the polls and everything, like that shit's important. Driving exactly.
I see habits where they see these buses pull up and everybody gets out, and it's like everybody goes to 70.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
No, it's true. Seriously, because a lot of older people do want to vote.
Well, they want to make a change.
Not all of them can make it down, and so a lot of times, every political election that I've been part of, which has been many, I've been a door knocker.
So you guys got to go to all of
that kinds of stuff for all different range of people. In fact, one of them is running. Kennedy Stewart's running for mayor. In the past, I think I door knocked with Kennedy. I did door knock with him, actually. I know I did. But I was an NDPer back in the day, and I was in his riding in Burnaby. Right? So, and before him it was, who was it? I can't remember. It was Sven Robinson's riding originally. Remember good old Sven?
Yeah.
He was a great guy. Until he stole some diamonds.
Career.
Yeah, he went weirdo and stole some diamonds.
Stole a ring.
On camera.
Yeah.
He walked up to during an auction and
just
grabbed it
in his pocket and bounced.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
And he was actually
oh my god.
And he was one of the best politicians in the country. Like no doubt about it. That guy was
and
serious. I'm serious he was.
And he had a bit of a
I guess everybody needs a hobby.
He was famous as shit too. He was very famous for Yeah, he was like a Libby Davies, you know?
You know what?
Nobody's like Libby
No,
Davies.
well, nobody's like Libby Davies.
Say this as a liberal.
I
love Libby Davies.
I was in her riding.
I've chaired
Vancouver
the
East.
Vancouver East Liberals for a long time.
Yeah, you have.
Sat meetings with her.
You know, to be honest, every time she won, I was happy because she's so cool.
She's wonderful.
You know, losing to her is great. Yeah. She was at a 420 event. She was at the same one.
Yeah, Libby Davies came out to 420, and Libby Davies is probably my favorite politician of all time. Actually.
Came to Green Cross.
And
besides maybe I like Dennis Kucinich down in the U.S. a lot too. He was a pretty good guy, and so was Ron Paul actually.
But I like that you couldn't tell if it was council or mayor.
Mayors in the past when they got elected, I know Dean.
We should
Mayor
talk.
Victoria, I know Diane Watts. I know the Camel River Mayor, Walter Jakeway. He got
Landlord.
9 votes.
Landlord doesn't have a microphone, but Landlord's heavily politically involved. Landlord actually leads our march.
Federal government.
That's right.
For Canada, Indian Affairs, but I've worked with many mayors and they've got elected.
That's great.
Yeah.
I get out there and
Yeah, you should come
get
work
out
with
there
us.
and hit the streets real
Yeah.
Landlord needs to join the Yes
One person
campaign
at a
then.
time.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you get the news out there. Is it's people by numbers change governments,
That's how you change the world.
and that's how you change everything. And I know that because that's how you do things. If you got to you can't do it on your own. You got to get out there and
Can't do it on your
and
own.
you got to say yes.
You gotta say yes.
You just got to say yes, guys.
Yes.
There you go.
Yep. All right. Well, so
let's do this again.
great to have you guys here.
Yeah.
Yes, camp. So
Yes.
what's the website for Yes itself?
It's yesvancouver.ca.
Yesvancouver.ca. Yesvancouver.ca.
And the action plan, you can read all 49 pages, is under Where We Stand. Click on Where We Stand, download the PDF, share it with your friends. It's really good.
It's riveting.
It's riveting.
Yeah.
It's riveting. I love this plan. It is
49 pages. It's a steep
action-packed.
plan. There's a lot in there.
Well,
That's
next
good.
week we're gonna drill you on that.
Politicians saying more things, like making more promises of what they're going to do than less, I think.
And being clear about what those promises are, because my
Yeah.
problem with the point form plans is they all sound good. You can make anything sound good in point form, especially using manipulative language. But when you actually get down to what they're trying to say or what it means, it's not always something you'd vote for.
It's hard to cut through the rhetoric and get to the reality.
There's a lot of rhetoric out there this campaign, like tax the rich, rent freeze.
Right. I haven't been paying attention. I haven't been paying any attention to municipal
how about
politics.
us?
I'm really behind on things. I need to learn things quick before I go and vote, which is very soon. So I got a lot of homework to do over the next
9
week.
days.
Yeah.
8 days.
8 days to go.
8 days.
Time.
Dun, dun, dun.
3 days after legalization.
It's fun. It's a good thing. I love this.
Well, you guys
Yep.
better not be too stoned to come vote.
Don't forget.
So I'm recommend advance voting. I recommend vote today or tomorrow. Just get the voting out of the way.
You can vote right away.
Forget about it.
You guys online right now? Go vote.
Dude, where's my ballot?
Can't you vote online now? You have to go in, yeah.
But
You have to go to the
don't-
polling
if you don't
station.
have
Online voting
the-
is dangerous.
Yeah, if you don't have the card, just go in with your ID. It's
ID.
super easy. I had the card, but I didn't.
Make
bring
sure your
the
ID has a Vancouver address on it, though. Just saying.
Well, I mean, go in. If it doesn't, you'll be turned away. But
Yeah, well, you can
bring
go in
your
there.
mail.
You know, but when you get
Do
in
it
the line
now,
and if anything happens and you get turned away, make sure you just say vote yes.
vote yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, get out there and vote. No matter who you vote for, just go
Yeah,
vote,
agreed.
please. Just do it. No,
Vote.
that's wrong. Vote for only the good ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
For yes.
Vote for yes, guys.
City of Vancouver. Well, Stephanie Ostler
Thank you.
and Mark Elyas.
Thank you.
Stephanie's running for city council in Vancouver, so go and vote for her on October 20th. And Mark Elyas is running for King of Awesome, and
No vote needed.
and he
Doing
no
well.
vote needed.
And don't
That's why you're
forget-
the king. You don't. There's no voting for a king.
Self-appointed.
Legalization is on the 17th, and your vote on the 20th is really going to really pave the way for how things happen with legal cannabis here in Vancouver, 100%. So get out there and vote, guys.
No, this mic is too hot. Oh, on for both of them. That's why. So don't talk so close, Johnny.
Sorry, guys.
He's eating.
We-
the
I'm always just like trying to get in there and
Yeah,
He's like
yeah,
a
we can.
rapper.
Yeah, but very cool, guys. Thanks a lot. And I was just teasing about Mark. He is awesome, but he's not. He's not running for the king. Mark is. Are you, Mark, now running? Are you going to be running again for the president of the Vancouver Liberal Riding Association? Of
I
Vancouver
am.
East? You are. So you are running for something.
I am. Yes. Yes. I
Cool.
am going. I'm running for re-election to be the president of the Vancouver East Liberals again. Well, they've changed the name of president to chair.
Oh, really?
That's bad.
I kind of hate
the chair.
Chair
it sounds like something you sit on.
It's something you sit on. A president is a person, right?
Right. President sounds so much more like glorious.
They're taking away the title, right?
But that is what you do. You chair the meetings.
I chair the meetings. I help give direction. I've been blessed with a great board that includes Jeremiah Vandermeer.
It did include me.
He's not running for re-election.
No, I'm not running for re-election.
He's the membership chair for the Vancouver East Liberals.
What's up?
Why aren't I running again? Because I don't want to be a liberal anymore. Okay. I can't do it just out of my own.
Join yes.
I'll join yes. Sure, I'll join yes, but I'm not. No. I'm done with the liberals. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's fine.
I'm on the Cannabis Party.
I know you love the liberals, and you always will. There's no doubt about that. And we need people like you on the inside of the party. I'm not giving up on politics completely or anything, but I just don't want to be part of any political party. Really, ultimately, not a federal one, anyways. I was an NDPer. I was a liberal. I just don't. I don't know. I can't do it anymore.
You rode the ride. You're good.
I've had my fair share of fill of politics for that. On that end, I want to criticize politics, not be part of doing it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Easy. Take the easy way out.
It is easy. It's much easier that way. Yeah. No.
And that's not happening for a while. I'm focused on this yes campaign. I really want Stephanie to be elected.
Yeah.
I want all our candidates to be elected. We have the best platform. Again, you need to check it out.
Vancouver.ca.
We don't need to freeze rents. We don't need to force landlords to lower their rents. We do need to incentivize developers to build more rental units. The more rental units, the increase of supply will lower our rents naturally. Like it's economics 101.
Yeah. But that it doesn't work by itself though. You do have to do a little bit more than just making more of them, right? As you said, you got to target who you're making them for and the size of them, so you just don't get a bunch of mansions or apartments that are like ridiculously expensive. But even right now, the problem is even like my apartment is not very big, but it's not cheap. And I got in a year ago. It's like double that now in the West End.
Are you in the same spot?
What's that? I'm in the same spot. I'm never moving for the price I got. I'm in.
Just keep it.
I'm literally in my building right now. It's more than double. My neighbors are paying more than double what I'm paying.
Wow.
Yeah.
People upstairs. I'm paying a huge rent. The people that live one floor above me, exact same square footage, they're paying $600 more a month than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's unfair in a way. I did a lot of renting. I moved around when I was in Vancouver and stuff like that, and it was impossible to find a place to live. I mean, when I fell and got hurt, I had to go to social assistance because it was through that whole thing with WCB and stuff, and I needed a place to live, and you couldn't find a place to live anywhere.
I'm about to move.
It was impossible.
Scared,
and that was 15 years ago.
Place together, and we're like.
Yeah, Vancouver's
nuts. We know the rental market's kind of scary. Are we going to find a place? Are we going to end up giving our landlords notice and then we have to move? But we can't find a place because there's no vacancies, and then we're living in my car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that won't happen.
Hotel life. I lived in a hotel for a month.
Oh yeah, I've done that too.
I did that too. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Room service was good.
No, but you know what? We have legalization coming up in less than 5 days.
Okay, cool.
It's about 4 days, 20 minutes.
4 days, 20. Okay, let's celebrate that right now.
Cool. No, but I really appreciate you coming on the show, big time, both of you guys.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, and when you're city councilor, we'll have you back. Or if you're not a city councilor, we'll have you back no matter what. Yeah. But yes, for sure. Very cool to have you guys on. Vote for Stephanie and Mark. You can vote for if you're a liberal only in Vancouver East. Yeah. Which you should be if you're in Vancouver East. Why not go down? And you can help Mark take over the party and make it right.
Yeah, it's easy. Just go to liberal.ca and register. Memberships are free now, so there's no excuse. Yeah.
Needed that $10.
All right, yeah, no, we don't need that $10. Go ahead.
How's the party going to make any money?
We get them from donors, just like you.
That's the way things should.
Volunteerism, I like it.
Well, and that's how you influence change. If join a party, pick a party, join it, become an influencer, and make the change. If you don't like any of the parties, or you don't like how the politics are being done, be part of the solution. That's what I did. Yeah.
It's very true. That's the way to do it. Yeah, it does get frustrating after a while if the party doesn't pay attention. Dana has a few of those. Dana's been working.
If you spend 30 or 40 years working within a party, you might get them to change a couple of policies.
Dana,
I don't know. I've
depends how much you can influence.
I've gotten 2 pretty good policies out of there.
That is true.
You know?
They started working on that at the Game Commission, I think, right?
I was one of the policies. But no, we do have the Liberal Party, the Liberal government put out an affordable housing strategy. It's $40 billion over 10 years, so $4 billion a year over 10 years, and that is actually a made in Vancouver East policy.
There you go.
You know? So
I do have to say the guys at Vancouver East are pretty damn cool, and like the policies that are coming out of these guys are ones that you would want to support for sure.
Of course.
Yeah. That I was supportive of because I was part of I was helping. But you know that's not saying the whole party's like that, and they only listen to a little bit of what the riding associations want.
Yeah, but a party is made up of parts, and becoming part of the parts is how you change culture over time, and it may take time, but this organization is proof when a group of thoughtful people get together, you can make change.
That's true.
I don't want people
to their members.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just filled with cynicism right now.
Clearly, clearly well-earned cynicism. But
I think so too.
But let's not scare all the newbies away.
Of course.
From their political aspirations.
Neil had a word for what was it earlier? Professional blackmail, or what was it? Professional blackmail victims. That's what. Being a politician, a professional blackmail victim. It's a difficult.
Of the lobbyists.
Well, yeah, but that's what. Yeah, of the lobbyists, Neil says. Of a million lobbyists, those are your constituents. Yeah, but I mean that's a very cynical attitude to have, of course. Yes. Right.
Best video game ever or the other.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a whole nother conversation we could have about politics in general. But we got one more show before the election.
One more show.
That's right.
Last show.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Yeah, and we'll have you back soon. Mr. Dana Larsen, I'm going to bring on now because we want. Dana's doing a big thing on Legalization Day, October 17th, which is Legalization Day at the legislature in Victoria. There's going to be a celebration / protest. It's a protestival
/ protestival.
Protestival?
Protestival?
Profestival.
Protestabration. That doesn't just sounds weird.
Protest a new regulation.
Yeah, you can rap it. Yeah.
Celebration. Protest a new regulation.
Sellout-abration?
Protest.
A sellout-abration.
Celeb-protest sounds like some kind of man, like...
Protest.
A protest. That's the best.
Celeb-protest.
Oh.
It's funny because I've had some people on the internet or on Facebook are like, you should not be celebrating anything. You have nothing to celebrate. You should only be protesting. I can't believe you think you should be celebrating. And other people are like, why are you protesting? You've gotten legalization. You guys should be grateful. You should only be celebrating. How dare you protest? You get nothing. I'm like, well,
it's like both.
We're doing both. If you want to show up, there's something. We're celebrating the good stuff or protesting the bad stuff. Whether it's whatever ratio you think those things come in, you can show up. If you only want to protest 2% and celebrate 98%, go ahead. If you want to do the other way,
it's a sliding scale, and you can change the meter yourself. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody can decide, and we'll see how it all plays out. I think there's a lot to celebrate and also a lot to protest. So
yeah,
I'll be doing 100% of both.
100% of celebrating and protesting. Yeah. So, Dana, what is people just show up at the place? It's all day. Is there a time? Like, give us the breakdown.
From 3 till 6. So I've actually booked the legislature grounds and talked to them, and they know what we're doing. And they said, "Oh, if you're gonna smoke weed, can you go do it down by the tree?" And I said, "Well, I acknowledge that you told me that, and we'll
I've acknowledged doing it on the lawn."
You said your thing. We'll see how many people show up, right? If there's only a small amount of us there, maybe.
But wait, you didn't book the tree though. You booked the lawn.
I booked the lawn and the driveway. Their main concern is that we don't wreck the grass, which I think is their concern for everybody. So the tables and tents or whatever we have will be set up on the driveway area, which they want us to do.
Yeah.
And that it'll be fine. If we get I'm hoping we get a big crowd. I got posters that have gone up around
Victoria, I've been posting on social media and got a fair response. I emailed everybody on our list. And I'm hoping I've got a few media things out. So we'll get a decent... It is a Wednesday afternoon, you know, so not everybody's available at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday, but it is also a historic day, and I hope we get a good group. I'm going to have a whole bunch of pre-rolled joints. We're going to have a bunch of live plants there.
Right. So there's got to be a 420 ferry going over. So.
Yeah, it'll be the first 420, first legal 420. You know, even though everything we're doing there is still illegal, because we're going to be smoking illicit cannabis, and we're going to have illicit cannabis plants and everything. So, and you know,
but see, the whole illicit thing. Just a quick aside into the legal side of things. I was just thinking about traveling on the ferry back and forth and like having weed on you or whatever else.
You're not allowed to smoke anymore.
You're not allowed to smoke on the ferry. But if the cops bust you with some joints on you now, how are they going to know that it's illicit cannabis or not?
Because there's only one store. It's in Kelowna.
I rolled some joints. I didn't bring the whole package with me. I just rolled a joint.
You can't buy until the 17th. And where did you get it from?
On October 18th, it'd be hard pressed to say you have it. Although it could. I don't. It's all. I don't think they're going to enforce a lot of this stuff against most people. I don't think in Vancouver there's going to be many arrests for illicit cannabis because they don't make any for cannabis now for possession. But I do think it'll be people in smaller towns, people that are more likely to get busted for possession or whatever. And I'm sure on October 18th, if you get a joint, the cop will say you did not get that legally because there's only one shop in town and it's 4 hours drive that way.
On that day.
The mail order wouldn't have arrived yet. Yeah. You know, but I mean that'll all.
I grew it at home myself, all 4 plants in one day.
Well, I'm not sure if you've got a medical, like you're allowed to give 30 grams to somebody else of your homegrown or weed that you bought. I don't know if that applies to, like, if you're a medical grower with a permit and you grow a bunch of weed.
I'm not allowed to give it away.
Are you not allowed to even share it or whatever?
Not at all. Zero.
No, you
I can't give it away. I can't pass it. I can't let anybody in my garden. No one. You can't even. You can't even water it.
You can definitely share your homegrown 4-plant cannabis. That you're allowed to share.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
And so it'd be after a couple of months, the idea where you got your weed from won't really be. Unless it's in. Maybe if they see you walking out of a dispensary and it's in a dispensary bottle and they want to harass you for it, they could still do that. And there'll probably be some isolated cases. But the possession charges in Canada are going to drop from 50,000 or whatever it is down to like maybe a couple of hundred or a couple of dozen, and then we can focus on those cases and show how dumb it is and try to get them dropped too, right? But
you're allowed to have cannabis in your car now, but it has to be in a sealed original container from an LP.
Well,
so what about the guy who's homegrown? Medical. I still don't know where it lies on. Like for myself, on medical, am I like still gonna do whatever I do?
And you get 4 extra plants.
Oh, do I get 4 extra plants? Medical, I guess I might get 4.
Yeah, maybe you do get 4 extra.
I think you're allowed to get 4 extra plants. I think.
Like you got your prescription.
You need your recreational weed too, right? Like this weed is for medicinal. When I just want to get high for fun, then you go to the other 4 plants that you're growing there, right? These are my rep ones or whatever, you know.
So all you guys, that's wrong, Johnny B. Someone says that's wrong.
So Dana,
we don't know.
We talked about the event.
We're growing 4 extra plants.
Legalization is coming. You are the proprietor of a medical marijuana dispensary in the city of Vancouver, or just a dispensary that serves to everybody, not just medical patients. It's recreational, right?
We don't require a medical diagnosis, but we only sell medical cannabis.
Okay.
I consider it non-prescription medical cannabis, which I think what medical cannabis should be available is a non-prescription medication.
Over the counter.
And so the reason I say it's still, I know it's maybe just the semantic
cannabis
thing,
is medicine.
But if you come in and ask us about cannabis for medical, we'll give you answers and guide you. And if you go into one of the recreational shops that they're going to be opening, they can't talk to you about medical cannabis. We carry a lot of products that are for medicinal use that don't really have a lot of recreational use. We certainly the buds and a lot of stuff will get you high as well as medicinal. But
what do you mean don't have recreational use?
Well, like high CBD products, or maybe suppositories, or things that people don't normally use just for fun.
What do you mean that's a party, man?
Everything can be, whatever. But
you never been to cookies parties?
Products that are, yeah, but you know what I mean. I guess products that aren't typically used for recreational purposes or more for fun, right?
Okay, so I gotcha.
That the things that are more and so we're gonna keep doing what we've been doing. I don't intend, and I'm a little nervous about stuff, right? But I don't intend on shutting down or changing anything that we do. Really, we're gonna keep providing cannabis, and considering how slow legalization is being implemented, how long it's gonna be, they're saying there's gonna be cannabis shortages. I still like the patients first idea, right? Mm-hmm. And that as long as we're needed to provide these products to our members and people that need this stuff, we're going to keep doing it. And hopefully the day will come sooner rather than later where the legal system is doing what we're doing as good as or better than we're doing it now.
Mm-hmm. I want to see better.
Comes, then I'll either join that system or maybe we'll just shut down and do something else.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see a better system.
It should be. I believe that if they were doing it properly, the legally regulated system should be able to provide better, cheaper quality cannabis than we can.
Totally, the best weed out there.
And if nothing else, it should be able to absorb us into it to make that happen, right?
Yes. But legalize BC bud.
Yeah, or it should be, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I don't see it coming in a year. I think it's going to be a couple of years.
Yeah.
We're going to expand what we do and try to push the envelope in other ways, and I think try to become more of a harm reduction center and have cannabis be part of that. But we actually want to expand. We're going to do a bunch of stuff, and I can't talk about them all right now. Some of them are coming soon. But one thing we're really looking into is getting some drug testing machines at our places so that people can bring in street drugs and we can run it through the scanner and tell you, no, this MDMA is actually something else, or maybe it is, or it's whatever.
That's awesome.
Not so much testing your weed for stuff, but testing other drugs for fentanyl presence, for other things that could be in there, and just for purity and that. And it's something that I think the city does have. There's a few of these floating around the province, but they're like at Insight only. And it's like if you can go to Insight twice a week and get your stuff tested
on a certain day.
Yeah, that's better than nothing. But it's most people aren't going to want to go to Insight, and having it only be 2 days a week is. And these things, they cost about 40 or 50 grand, which isn't beans. But for the province, they can spend $1 million, get 20 of these machines,
save us ton
and they
of
don't
lives.
cost anything to run. Like they just require a guy sitting there operating it.
Yeah, it's like a digital readout. It just identifies what it is. They use them at like Shambhala. Anchors use them.
Yeah. So the main only place you've been able to get your drugs tested is if you're some privileged guy going to some music festival. You can get your drugs tested. But if you're living in the downtown east side, you can't, or anywhere else, you can't get your stuff tested.
Yeah, it's something I always thought about too. Every time I go to that festival, I'm getting drugs tested, and I'm just looking at it going like, well, why can't we just have this on the downtown east side so everyone can just bring their drugs in?
And not even just there too. Why can't it be everywhere? Like,
well, yeah, everywhere in the world.
Especially party drugs and stuff. Like,
especially
not
now
everybody.
With fentanyl and all these other bad drugs that are getting mixed in. They need that.
And you want to know if there's fentanyl in there, but you also just want to know if your MDMA is actually meth or something, or if this drug is actually that drug. So there's other issues.
Somebody's using it.
And definitely the fentanyl is like the number one deadly issue, right? But there's just a lot of, and ideally in the best world, these things would be getting tested before they get sold to you, and they'd have a label on it. But until that happens, having these things. So we're looking at getting one of these machines. Hopefully, they take a while to get in and get it all set up. But I'm hoping that by the end of the year, we can offer free or by donation testing of street drugs. And I think we'll do it at our Thurlow location in the West End, where it's not the downtown east side community that needs more of these testing machines. They need more too, but that would be a whole other community. And anybody could come and do it. It takes about 5 minutes to run the test. It's not very expensive. And on that note, actually, I've been talking to this professor in Victoria who's developing a machine that can actually do really good testing. Because the best testing now is really just a yes or no. They have a library of chemicals. They run the infrared spectrometer on your drug, and then they can tell you if it matches something on the list. So they can tell you if it's got this or that. But they can't tell you what the percentage is or the potency. And if it's in like a gummy bear or candy, it's very hard for them to work it because the sugar kind of messes things up. And so there's limits to it. But for most pills and capsules and powders, it can tell you what's in there.
Cool.
But this guy in Victoria is developing one that can do the whole thing. It can give you the percentage. This is this much of this. Yeah, there's fentanyl, and it's 4% fentanyl or whatever. That's really good. But he needs another $1 million to finish building this machine. And he'd applied to Health Canada a few months ago, and they turned him down. And it's so ridiculous.
Why did they turn him down?
$1 million is nothing.
I know.
You don't even need to stop 50 overdoses to pay back that $1 million. Like, it's nothing.
No. Somebody should invest in that.
And so he was thinking about doing a GoFundMe thing or trying to find some way to crowdfund it. Maybe
that's a good idea.
And he was like, if I can get some of the money from crowdfunding, it's easier to get matching money. And I want to try to use whatever tiny pull I have in the BC NDP to get some of them to fund this stuff.
For sure.
I feel like, I'm all for supervised injection sites everywhere, but I understand why some communities are paranoid about having an injection site in their neighborhood, right? But with a testing machine, like you put it in the mall, no one has to be doing drugs there. You can say, we don't, but you can just bring it in. So I see like it's something that would be a lot less, some people wouldn't like it, but it'd be a lot less controversial having drug testing machines around than having injection sites around. And so to me, it just seems like for $1 million or $2 million, they could get 50 machines, put them in every city and town in BC, and you got to pay one person. You don't even need to be a doctor. You can get a regular person, pay them $20 an hour to run the machine. You just need a few hours training. It would be a great investment in saving lives. And I feel it wouldn't be so politically risky as some of the other things that I want them to do would be but like decriminalizing and providing safe drugs and that. But this to me seems so. We're gonna get one anyways, and I want to help kickstart it. Maybe embarrass the government. Look, we got one. Why don't you get one? Right? We got a few, but
so he'll make you one. Yeah.
And I want to try to expand on that and make it so we're still going to keep providing cannabis. We're not shutting down. And I think that we're still going to be needed for a long time. And in fact, we're already starting to get busier because other dispensaries are closing down and people have nowhere to go. So they're turning to us again. And that's,
I'm glad to be able that's to rough. Yeah, I'm sad that dispensaries are closing down because I really think that if we all stood up together, it would be so much harder for them to do something.
For a lot of dispensaries and for this CAMCD group, it's changed its name now, but it was always patients first, right? And maybe in the long run, trying to get a permit is going to be better in some way, but for people that need cannabis today and tomorrow and 6 months from now, they're not going to get it from the legal system.
No.
And for medical users, they've still got to get it. If you want medical cannabis, you've still got to go to your doctor, pay a couple $100, get it by bail order. You're limited to one licensed producer. Extracts and things aren't properly available. So, I feel there's still a lot of legal justification and certainly a lot of moral and ethical justification for us to stay open and keep doing what we've been doing. And if that means that I sacrifice my ability to get a permit and maybe to have a legal weed shop in 5 years or in a couple of years, then I'm happy to make that sacrifice because I didn't get into this so I could get a permit to sell weed. Like, I don't really care about selling cannabis in itself.
Yeah.
I care about doing it because it needs to be done and it's not available and I want to blaze a trail and I want to help people get it. But once it's available, I don't want to make a career out of selling weed. Selling cannabis in the legal system is kind of boring and not interesting to me, right? I want to do other stuff and try to push back, and I'm glad others could do it.
I like that. I see where you're coming from, Dana, but I still think the activism goes on. People are always going to need good quality cannabis.
Well, that's why I say I will keep doing our stuff as long as we're needed. And that might hopefully, I'm hoping that it's not that long, but it can very well be 10 years.
Might be forever.
And if they shut down our storefronts, we're going to do home delivery. And we will try to find ways to keep serving people and keep making it available as best we can. And I really think that if they do succeed in shutting down a lot of storefronts, people are going to switch to delivery. And I suspect that a lot of the dispensaries that are going to be shutting down to get a permit 6 months from now or a year from now, when they realize they're never going to get a permit, they might end up reopening again and keep doing what they were doing if they can, because it's going to be a very slow and difficult process. Some places will definitely get permits, but I think I just don't think most dispensaries in Vancouver are going to be able to get a permit under the bylaws and the rules they put in place. They're not going to open it. Depending who gets in. Maybe yes, Vancouver. Maybe all the things she was saying will come to fruition. But if even a lot of cities won't, it's not just Vancouver, right? A lot of cities are going to have very restrictive rules. Some cities are banning places altogether. So, and even in Washington and Colorado and that, as far as I know, the black market is, if not over half, I think it's even over half in those states, but it's definitely a big chunk, right? It's going to take a long time. They're going to have to lower the taxes on this stuff too, ultimately, if they really want to compete. If I was in charge, I'm trying to accomplish their goals of getting rid of the black market dispensaries. They should make legal marijuana entirely tax-free for the first 5 years. And then they would be cheap and they could compete against other stuff. And then once they've shut everybody else down and got the monopoly, then you start taxing it. And then you start then you put it a little bit at a time until you find that spot where you can get enough money
but instead,
not overtax it.
They're going to be like $15 joints and shit they're talking about.
It's so expensive, and this $1 excise tax means that even shaken stuff becomes $1 a gram taxation on it. So that makes cheaper cannabis like really expensive, compared to... the lower, the more.
That's a federal dollar tax on every gram.
And that's per gram, yeah. So it's 10% on a $10 gram, but on a $2 gram, that's a 50% tax, right? So So if you're trying to sell shake or cheap cannabis products or things like that, that tax plus then GST and PST, and then also the province of British Columbia, they have to collect the cannabis from the licensed producer, warehouse it, and then resell it to the shop. So that means somebody's going to be paid to do all that stuff.
Yes.
And they got to tax.
And guess what? They'll be working for the BCGEU.
And I think that's how they.
That's their union.
How they satisfied the BCGEU is we're not going to give you all the shops, but we're going to let you handle all the weed as it comes through anyway, so that you still have a role to play. But there's
the NDP sure owes them, huh?
I guess they do alcohol the same way, but I don't really see the need for all that stuff.
It's so blatant.
The producers are so heavily monitored anyways. They should just go directly.
I'm still curious on on this whole thing of 21 licensed producers supplying BC that's going to go to one warehouse that's going to be then shipped onto other shelves.
I heard that warehouse was in Richmond.
Yeah, I heard that warehouse is in Richmond. Yeah, I was at
but they got to ship it to.
I was at a logistics place there the other day for some other orders I was dropping off, and they have these whole systems set up where everything's being distributed out of Richmond, and they go all across Canada. Like,
okay, so that's all just the buds. Now imagine all the hash, all the extracts, all the CBD capsules, all the THC capsules, all the support, all of that stuff going through the BC government on the way out. It doesn't, I mean, buds doesn't make any sense, but every single licensed cannabis product is all going to go through that, and there's going to be a ton of different products, right? Every LP is going to have extracts, especially. And in a way, I think extracts are the product that it makes sense that bigger companies and bigger things could produce them in a more standardized and bigger way. Buds are really a thing that's difficult to produce on a quality level.
It's a produce product.
A mass level. It's produce. And that craft level, but making an extract or a cream or something with the THC at a certain level, you'd think a big company and a big mass-produced thing could really standardize things.
Because you can grow shitty bud and turn it into fairly decent extracts.
Yeah,
sometimes.
that I think would be, and ultimately, I mean,
or maybe maybe that's an overstatement.
No, that's true. You can turn it into like a reasonable extract.
Right,
it's done all over the country today.
You can get pure THC out of things, and pure CBD, and pure CBG, and what any other
CBR.
Right, because when you're isolating that stuff out of it, the plant material doesn't matter much. But.
To me, real legalization should mean that farmers are growing high-potency cannabis, harvesting with tractors, and then making extracts. And, that's the one thing about these cannabis laws that hasn't really been discussed, but it's allowing, next year, Canada's hemp farmers are going to be able to harvest and sell their CBD. And that's going to be huge, because I've written about this, I talked about it, they've had to plow it under the ground. They're already making enough money off the seeds. Now they can harvest the CBD resin. Hopefully, by this time next year, there's a flood of cheap CBD on the market. Canada's hemp farmers have doubled or tripled or quadrupled the value of their hemp crop, and they've produced hundreds of tons of CBD, which would flood the market with cheap CBD, and which would be great. I
mean, 5 cents a gram.
It should be that low.
Dana,
and I think that's quite possible, especially over the next few years. I think CBD should be putting CBD in our milk and in our bread and in our cereals and stuff, right? It should be like iodine in a salt or whatever, just a natural health supplement.
About the hemp issue, is that getting better? Like, I haven't really dipped into the hemp aspects of this legislation. Does it change? Because I know David Malma-Levine and others have been on the show many times talking about how hemp restrictions are so severe in Canada that it limits the way that the companies can actually do all this. Look at these guys. But the hemp production which should have been huge all over the place in Canada was really limited because of restrictive regulations. Do you know anything about how that is it?
Well, with the hemp regulations now, Dana, you go ahead.
I
do know that they can separate everything. I was talking with
for sure. Thanks, man.
I was talking with a friend of mine, Jay Green. He's been working in the hemp fields and growing hemp for years.
Hemp farmer by life.
Hemp farmer, just the most amazing guy. He's now working, of course, with the LPs and stuff like that. I think he's working for Canopy Growth on their hemp farms and stuff like that. And they now he's got all the hemp farmers that's collected to bring in all their material. They can separate it all now. They can separate the leaf, they can separate the triclone, they can separate the seeds, they can do anything they want with all that.
And they don't have to just throw it away?
They don't have to throw it away. Before they were milling, all of the triclones were going back into the soils. I was in these seed separating plants years ago. I saw this. It was amazing. It was like trichomes that high on the side of windows because it was all CBD. And I remember just drooling. Jay's laughing because it was for all the hemp seeds. And I was in the Hughes place, and he's the one who invented the chickpea or something. And I saw it was pretty cool. Like, I got to go through all these fields.
Invented the chickpea?
I was on the call lines when they were getting ready for harvest.
I don't like them either.
This whole thing's happening.
Too hard.
And they've created this big collective, and the hemp farmers are now part of the system, and their material is now being bought, and then it's going to be reprocessed and put on the market in certain ways. That's actually going to be very beneficial.
That's all very true. And in terms of the regulations around hemp, I think they have been loosening up a little bit over the last few years.
Oh, yeah.
If you grow certain cultivars now, they guarantee this one is never going to make too much THC, so you don't have to get your crop tested anymore. So some of them are now saving the crop testing. So your fear of having your plants all being destroyed because the THC level went to 0.3.
And if you don't think they're going to be putting THC in those things over the next few little, they're going to do it.
In Europe, it's a lot of European countries, it's a 1% THC level, and in Canada, it's a 0.3%, which was a level determined by Dr. Ernie Small in the 1970s. But it'd be nice if it was a little higher. But
I think Sylvania had the highest THC in their hemp.
Who? What?
Sylvania.
Oh, nice.
I know because they did all these. No, Sylvania because they did all this testing.
Shouldn't be any limit. It should just be growing for whatever. You know?
It's just cannabis.
But what I think what's good about
now that it's legal, will that matter at all though? Like,
well, they still hemp is still different, right? It's all under the law. It's all marijuana or cannabis, and you're just getting a permit to grow marijuana which has the under 0.3% THC of these strains, which is in hemp, right? But under the law, those farmers all have marijuana cultivation licenses to grow that hemp, right? It's just how they define it. But almost all the cannabis in Canada has been grown for seed, right? The fiber production is virtually like less than 1%. And that's mainly because you need more infrastructure to produce quality fiber. And I think there's a lot of labor involved, which means it's more likely to be done in countries overseas where there's cheaper labor.
Right.
Because that's where they're actually weaving and making a lot of these textiles into things.
They don't make clothes in North America.
We do ship to them.
Yeah, I think there's some of that, but Canada fiber production, as far as I know, is very low. But the seed is very lucrative. It's a high-end food product, and so they're able to. And it's very simple to process the seed. It's not that hard to harvest. It doesn't require a lot of effort to get the seed ready for market, right? And some of the hemp farmers have been collecting the resin and selling it to dispensaries or doing under-the-table stuff because some of them sell to me, and some of them do other places, and I've been encouraging that, right? And now, unfortunately, they're saying we're not going to sell to you anymore because now we're going. We got permission. We're going to go legit, and we're going to do on a bigger scale. And it's better also because when they were doing it by themselves, they couldn't really talk about it a lot. So the technology, they had to jury rig their own stuff to try to harvest this resin. And I know farmers are doing different things, and it's a big effort. But now they're going to be able to sell. This is the tractor you can use to optimize your harvest of resin. And then when they shake, it's going to be quality, and hopefully it'll make hemp seeds cheaper too, because of the dual use, and that's where hemp and cannabis really shines at its best, is as a multiple use crop, right? When you're growing it for seed and for resin, or when you're growing it for fiber and for pulp, or multiple aspects at the same time, then it can really get all the benefits. So I'm hoping that seeds there's pretty expensive in Canada really to use hemp seeds in a big way, right? It's more of a specialty high-end kind of a Whole Foods thing where you buy a little bag, right, and you sprinkle a little bit. But ideally, seeds gets really cheap. They are able to sell CBD for,
they can get so much more out of that plant now. Before they had to scrap so much.
Use the stocks for the hempcrete.
Hopefully, it'll lead to them more experimenting more and using other parts of the plant and creating that. And what would be good would be to have some investment in infrastructure for hemp fiber production and hemp pulp and hemp fuel and those kind of things, because to make fuel with the pyrolytic conversion and the turning the pulp and the biomass into a usable energy, you need an infrastructure which is very different from our tar sand pipeline oil infrastructure, right? You need a lot of farmers to have stuff on their farms and individual production and kind of set it up differently.
Real farming, wow.
Considering how much we subsidize our petroleum industry, we should be looking at maybe investing a few million in researching and seeing if this is feasible.
This renewable resource.
And if the farmers are able, to harvest their crop for resin and for seed and for fiber and pulp all together, that makes it, then that makes the pulp biomass is kind of just a side thing that can become very cheap to produce and very lucrative.
Tweed should make a hemp biofuel car.
Well, unfortunately, Tweed, for instance, Bruce Linton, their CEO, told the Senate the worst thing you could do is to let us grow marijuana outdoors. Don't let us do that. The kids will get drones, and they'll fly in on the drones, and they'll steal the buds. But the subtext is, don't let us grow outdoors, because I've invested billions of dollars in large indoor grow operations that are not going to be worth so much. Once farmers can grow THC cannabis, those indoor things aren't really worth that much, right? And so, I think that they really want to keep it restricted. Tweed and Canopy and Bruce Linton especially, I think, are very much sort of openly like, we don't want competitors. We want.
I don't like. Yeah, Canopy's the worst of it.
It's hard to grow sensimilla outdoor.
Yeah, but you see, if you're harvesting, you're not going to get perfectly manicured buds outdoors. I agree.
No.
Although you could grow only female plants or get rid of your male plants. That's not that hard.
But you can make extracts.
But if you're growing for seed, you don't want sensimilla. But it doesn't matter what that is, because when you're extracting it, you can make extracts, and you can blend any level of cannabinoids. You can put the terpenes in there and the flavonoids and create something that's a whole plant extract, but kind of blend it together using the whole plant sort of as your palette, And it'd be easier to make things like CBG and extract extracts of cannabinoids that we don't really know a lot about because they're only there in minute levels. But if you're growing 1,000 hectares of this stuff, then suddenly you've got a whole bunch of CBG to experiment with and to isolate out. And so I think it would really, I want to see the cannabis market should crash in a lot of ways. If farmers can do that, it should make it really cheap. There'd still be room for expensive cannabis, just like coffee's very cheap, but you can go to Starbucks and wine you can pay $5 or $5,000 for a bottle of wine. So I think there'll always be room for like expensive buds with a good backstory served in a nice place where ambiance. But that shouldn't be like the going rate, right? But I mean, some people will, there'll always be expensive weed, but they're really, the overall price of cannabis should be crashing.
The connoisseurs will always be there. The people with the connoisseurs, the ones that are going to be looking for that dankness, the ones that are going to help them, or that good butter, that good hash.
Raw buds?
Or that
especially.
You know what I mean?
And I think it lends itself to small scale because we all want different flavors. No matter how many kinds of, I could have 100 kinds of weed and you got a different one. I want to try that one too. And so it lends itself to a lot of small producers just doing their special kind and not mass produced stuff. But extracts and things I think lend themselves to mass production. London Drugs and these shops, I don't really see them selling dank nugs at their stores. It doesn't make any sense. But selling a cannabis capsule or a cream or a
rosin.
But those
they're like, yo, you seen the newest rosin tech over at London Drugs?
They're like, cool in a way. I just don't see it fitting in their paradigm, but
Johnny will be there. Johnny will be on payroll.
You could bring your stuff in.
Yeah. It'll be like,
okay, we got your catacombs right here. You know what? All the extracts, all the laws, stuff like that. This one thing that's gonna work. You know what? And it's we got to be able to access these things. These things have to be able to be accessed. We got to be able to keep getting what we're getting today. And we got Walmart's now making listings that they're going to be getting into the industry by the looks of it. They're already in the U.S., so are they going to start bringing in stuff from China? We're going to get grow-up equipment.
Definitely.
What other products?
Here's something that came up. Costco's selling LED grow lights for $30.
Can't go wrong.
Well, if they don't work, they're not sunk. It's really good for you. Are they going to be good for your plants? I mean, LED light always seemed like something that was just about to be really good, but is it really good now?
It's really good
LED?
now, yeah.
Like it seemed like it was always sort of just like almost
LEDs.
close
I've been
to,
growing with LEDs now. Most people I know have all changed over to LED lighting. Why? It's less efficient. You're not worried about
less
hydro.
efficient.
I mean, it's more efficient. Sorry, completely more efficient. We're not using more hydro. You have to add a little bit of heat. It's not creating more moisture. Actually, with legalization, the people who can grow 4 plants, it's going to be a lot easier for them to grow those 4 plants. They're not going to have to worry about certain things we're growing.
No, that's good. I mean,
auto pots are coming into play. You can get certain things.
Out of touch.
It's
didn't know LED was working now.
LED, I know.
LED in 315s. And you're getting better resin production.
And it takes. I mean, there are risks with growing with high intensity lights and stuff, and like
100%.
LED takes away 99.99% of those risks. Right?
It's a lot safer.
The heat and electricity use are the main issues,
and just those people who can grow 4 plants at home, they start growing those proper strains, and that starts getting trading amongst people. So it creates that inner market. And you know what? And once everybody's growing 4 plants. The other guy and the medical, there's going to be 36,000 medical patients that are allowed to grow more. And plus, as the medical grows bigger and bigger, I think everybody's got to go get a medical license. You can grow more than 4 plants. You can grow 40.
There you go.
You smoke a lot of places with your medical license. You get a lot more freedom in terms of where you can use and what you can do.
Medication is a key.
The only thing that's not easier to do with your medical license is actually buy cannabis.
Yeah.
It's actually sort of harder to buy. It's the only product I can think of where it's easier to buy it for recreational use than it is to access it for medical use.
I produce all my own medicine.
Medical marijuana
I have
than it is to get recreational marijuana.
But wait, that's like that with. Oh yeah, you're right.
What other? Maybe there's something else.
No, that doesn't make
sense.
Like, no, it's usually the opposite way.
If you want something, usually at least you pay less tax, or there aren't really many substances that go both that are available specifically for both purposes, right?
Well, if you're buying Xanax on the schoolyard,
most medical substances that people use recreationally aren't specifically sold just for that purpose or whatever, right? Or even maybe not recreationally, but use off book.
Take it and go. Take it and go resin press.
Take it and go. All right, well, that I don't really know what happened. I just got really high and forgot what we were talking about.
October 17th, I'm going to be in Victoria.
October 17th,
giving out joints.
You're going to be there. He's going to be there. I'm going to be there.
I think that our focus, I think that the focus of our movement in terms of protesting and pushing and activism and politics is going to be more provincially and municipal for the next while. They passed the federal law. They're not going to change it. We can lobby on edibles and extracts to try to get a better system for that through. Yeah. But they're not going to change the weed laws federally until after the next election, and it's going to be a few years. So I think we got whatever the best we could get out of the Cannabis Act federally. We should still be pushing there, but we really want to focus on the provinces and cities where a lot of the action is going to be. And we got terrible pot laws here in BC, only surpassed perhaps by Quebec and Manitoba in their awfulness. Quebec's going to ban selling like your shirt's going to be. You can't buy that shirt in Quebec after October 17th.
Can you wear it though?
You can wear it. Yes. Okay. You can't sell it.
So you can give them away.
I'm not sure if that counts as trafficking or not. But
his hat's banned.
The shirts, it's just that Quebec is passing. It's weird that they're doing this stuff now. It's supposed to be legal, so now we're gonna.
I know it's weird.
Like, why didn't you ban shirts when it was?
I think they got nothing better to do. Right?
If you hate them so much, why are you waiting until now to do it? And a lot of places that
they don't want the advertising, right? That's what all of the policy experts from the medical community have told them to not allow the advertising because that's what went wrong with tobacco.
So these policy experts are the worst, right? So the president of the Ontario Medical Association went on a tour through Southern Ontario about a week ago to tell people you got to talk to your doctors about your recreational cannabis use because we know the facts, we got the data, we know what's going on. For instance, we know that, and then she says medical cannabis and recreational cannabis are totally different plant products. Recreational marijuana is smoked, unlike medical marijuana. And recreational marijuana's got THC in it. And THC is intoxicating. It causes psychosis. It's addictive. And it can lead to the use of crack cocaine.
What?
This is the head of the president of the Ontario Medical Association went on a tour. These are almost exact quotes. She definitely said these things. Then she says, but medical marijuana, that's only taken in a pill or a drop form. And that's got CBD. And CBD has no intoxicating effect, but it does have some medical uses like for pain and spasmodicity and this and that. And it could be good for some things. So but they're totally different plant products. And then there was a big outcry. And then she said, tobacco is harmful for your lungs, but with cannabis, those harms are intensified because they hold it in the lungs longer. And so, cannabis is harmful. There was an outcry and other doctors, and there was an article on the CBC quoting her, and then she said, okay, I apologize. Cannabis does not lead to crack cocaine use. I misspoke on that issue, and I'm sorry I said that. But it's still a very dangerous substance, but you're right, it doesn't lead to crack. And a lot of people were like, oh, bravo for your brave correction and apologizing, and it's good that you admit that you were wrong, and you come out and say that, and thank you for clarifying. But of course, most of the media that covered her initial thing did not do follow-up stories, even on that part, and she left all the rest of this stuff. And so it's the irony that the doctor was telling you, talk to doctors, we know our stuff, and then spewing a bunch of things that are just
doctors are full of shit.
Obviously, we all know that medical cannabis and recreational cannabis produced by those producers comes out of the same pile of weed. It's the exact same cannabis.
That's the funniest part.
There's no difference.
They're very different substances.
And the only medicinal cannabis really available in Canada is smoked. Yes, you can take it as a pill, and you can take recreational cannabis as a pill.
I don't know if you can buy a pill from an LP right now.
You can't really. You can't. You'd have to get it from a dispensary where you get the. So it's all. Anyways, I don't think I have to go over why all that stuff is wrong, right? But that she.
No, I believe all that.
And it's frustrating that there's no real correction coming out. I saw somebody tweeted a picture from a doctor's seminar in the last week, and it was on the presentation. It was after legalization in Colorado. The first point they said homelessness has increased by 20%. Now, I don't know if that figure is true or not, but to create a cause and effect line between we legalize marijuana, therefore homelessness would go up 20%. Like, what the fuck do they think is happening? That's even a connection, right? I mean, I don't know if that number is accurate, but definitely things happen in the world
Tune
at the
out,
same
baby.
time that are not always cause and effect. That could be part of it,
Cheap weed.
Wow, that's
and
weird.
there was other thing, traffic accidents and that. It's all a bunch of crap. But the doctors are really engaging in a real fear campaign, a lot of them, against cannabis and putting out real harsh misinformation, and and there's been a real media stamp up recently. The National Post had this column by their priest columnist, Father D'Souza, who was like, marijuana legalization is not going to make us more industrious or more safe or whatever, and it's not safe for kids. And I like Chris Bennett's column was that, cannabis is a lot safer for kids than Catholic priests are. But there's it seems like the ramp up of the propaganda.
You even said that kind of like Chris Bennett would.
On the verge of legalization here. So we still have a lot of work to do, unfortunately, a lot to complain about.
4 days?
Yeah. 4 minutes.
But
so it's
also
true, Dana.
We have to,
very true.
All of this. It's wonderful. This law is passing. It's a huge victory for our movement. It's going to be the beginning of the end thing. After all this shit happens, like by January next year, it's only going to get easy. Laws are only going to get less strict. Everyone's going to put in all their shit. Quebec's putting in their ban. Everyone's getting their things up.
It's all gonna
but
start
we're only
changing.
going to take those barricades down over the coming years, right? And so a lot of them are awful things they're setting up. I'm very unhappy with a lot of the provinces, but it's only going to get easier from here on in. We still have decades of work ahead.
Yeah.
And to me, cannabis is only really the first part of ending the whole war on drugs.
Is that? But I don't know.
Getting everything available. I do feel like it's and other countries around the world, they're all going to say Canada did it, and they're right next to America, and they're doing this under Trump, who we hate anyways. We're going to do this too. Mexico is saying that they want to legalize cannabis and maybe opium as well.
Yeah.
South American countries, Colombia is looking at legalization of marijuana.
Well, Colombia's been working on it hard. Rita Stevie down there,
and hopefully they all put in different kinds of models, and maybe some of them do better models than Canada does, and then we can go, hey, we want the Denmark model. Stop doing it this shitty way here. We want to do it, or whatever.
Better
right?
Models, they're going to go on the side of a mountain for like 500 hectares.
I
just going to see them as far as you can
thing, right?
see.
But I mean,
but why isn't anybody looking at the Amsterdam model and going with that though?
The Amsterdam model is a bad model.
I know it's a bad model,
and it's the model we have now in Vancouver. That's the dispensary model. It's exactly the same thing almost. The Amsterdam model, except dispensaries are more open because we went through the. But the idea that you're against the Dutch coffee shops are against the law federally.
Yeah.
But they're regulated municipally, even though everybody knows.
Yes.
They have, but they're more restricted, right? But they can only have 500 grams of how much? Yeah, 500 grams of cannabis at a time on the premises. So they have runners always bringing them more weed.
Right.
If that guy gets pulled over, if you're growing cannabis, going to a coffee shop, you'll be arrested. You might not get
You won't get arrested. It's a $4,000 fine.
Well, they'll take your stuff away. You'll be punished. It said the punishment might not be as severe as it is in some countries, but it's certainly against the law.
But now it's
you know what?
But you don't get a criminal record.
Okay,
That's
so it's
you know what?
well, those are good things.
And the reason they still have that though, it's interesting, is because at least some of the people that run the some of the shops there, who of course we know and hang out with when we're there and stuff, they told me that the reason that they don't fight against that is because it's great. They don't get taxed in a way that's harsh. The only tax they really pay is when their runners get caught and they have to pay the $4,000 fine.
It's kind of like dispensaries, right? If you're a dispensary operator and you're able, especially if it's a permitted system,
this was
and you have
a while ago
permits, and they
50%.
In Amsterdam, Vancouver's much more open because most places don't have
thing.
permits. We're all just open. We do whatever we want, right?
Yeah.
But if the federal government didn't legalize and Vancouver had moved forward on their licensing, we would have ended up with a much more like a Dutch model, where there's maybe 20 or 30 licensed shops in the city, and everyone else is gone. And if you got one of those permits, you're going to like that system because you're going to make a lot of money off that coffee shop.
Right.
And although, I mean, there's all different kinds of Dutch coffee shops, but a lot of them, they don't want it to be really fully legal because it's going to hurt their business. And that's, I don't really support that concept either. But the Dutch model, it's good in a situation where you're dealing with a federal prohibition. It's very good, but it's not really a model we want for everybody.
No.
And they can't sell edibles and extracts there. They can only sell smokable buds. Unfortunately, they all mix it with tobacco all the time.
I mean more of the idea of consumption spaces that people can go.
That they make a difference between tobacco and cannabis.
Right.
And they have tobacco-free cannabis spaces, or at least they try, because they smoke a lot of tobacco in Holland.
Isn't that the real future of cannabis, though, is consumption spaces? Like, really, like I hope that it's, as things go, they get more, the regulations get less harsh and everything else. I think that I believe that's going to happen too. I want to believe that's going to happen. Although I think internally, and maybe I'm a little more agnostic on the whole thing. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. It didn't in the past. Like, I remember the movie Grass takes you through this sort of up and down through when they had decriminalization in a whole bunch of states, and then they got conservative governments and shit kind of swung back the other way. So I don't know. It's possible. I think and I hope that it's going to get better from here out all the way. But should it not get better in the direction of consumption spaces as a super important piece of the whole thing?
One thing that hasn't changed despite governments over the years is that from the 70s until now, more and more people are using cannabis all the time.
That's true.
And although the laws have bounced back and forth and gotten less strict and more strict in Canada and in many states, but cannabis has gotten more and more popular, and the critical mass of people that are using cannabis and enjoying it, I think that's only going to increase it's increasing now in terms of people using non-psychoactive cannabinoids and taking CBD, and so I think that's going to make it hard.
Yeah,
I think if Trudeau loses this election and we get Scheer in or something like that, the next one, or I don't think. I think things might slow down or change, but I don't think they're going to be able to put the genie really back in the bottle at this point.
They can never do that again.
But I do. But it could definitely slow down. It could go sideways. There could be sort of other ways of restricting things and that. But I think also now we've got companies that are worth tens of billions of dollars that they have a vested interest in fighting all this stuff. I think the rules, you can't put your logo and information on your package. That's a shitty rule. But I'm not going to spend my time fighting it because those guys have got a financial interest in fighting that stuff, and they've got deep pockets. I'll let them lobby and fight on that shit, right? Like, I don't really care about those kind of things.
But seeing the product, you can put your name on the product before you purchase it is important, though.
Well, it's important. No, I know it's important, but it's not. But I don't think as an activist, my job is not to help to do stuff that Tweed's going to do in their own self-interest, anyways. I'll just keep doing my cannabis our way, right? But there's some things in the system I'd rather fight, but. Those guys are they've got huge lobbyists. They got billions of dollars. They're going to want.
Bless you.
And, thank you. And they're also going to want more open system and that, So I don't. My job as an activist, I think, is to push on other.
We're pretty good around here.
I'll pass you that. Here's some water,
here, man. All right, now I'm set.
Pass that guy.
Hemp Kleenex. That's what we need.
But. I think we should start doing more civil disobedience with other types of things. We need more entheogens out there. I think we're going to be having a place outside of town where people can come and do entheogenic experiences in kind of a spiritual way. I think the ayahuasca movement is growing. The Native Indian Church and the peyote and entheogenic movement is all growing. And I think that's going to be the next big push. And I kind of feel like those things are where cannabis was maybe 20 years ago in terms of there's a public awareness that's starting to penetrate through the surface. The hardcores have always known about this stuff forever, but now it's starting to penetrate. There's a few lawyers or some doctors enough who are telling their patients that they're going to sign the forms. They'll apply for Section 56 exemptions for mushrooms and stuff, and that's just where cannabis was, and I think that's going to push through next, and it'll be a thing that... And I think it's the same idea, the medicalization of it, right? The idea that... cannabis, maybe it's fun, but people need this for a medicine. You can easily say no to some stoner hippie, but a girl who's child with epilepsy or somebody who's got a terrible ailment, and I think with the entheogens, we're getting the same thing, where it's like people with PTSD, trauma victims, people facing end-of-life issues. Hard to say no to those people about giving them the access to these things. And then once they get it, you open it up for everybody else. And so I know you guys are all giggling over there.
Johnny's picture.
That was funny.
We were having fun.
I feel like the
giggling.
entheogens
Sorry.
is the next part, and that
we're having a flashback of sorry.
Yeah, feel like I'm on an entheogen at the moment. Yeah, I truly, you're right. All that stuff, and the medical benefit of the mushroom stuff. That's so cool.
Medical benefit of it all.
Yeah, and you're right. All of it, of course. But
mushrooms help tremendously with people who.
I think mushrooms is
headaches,
easy.
Headaches. It's documented. It's all there. Microdosing mushrooms are great medicine.
I was at this big conference last week, or I got about 2 weeks ago in Edmonton called Stimulus, and it was the first big multidisciplinary drug policy conference in Canada ever, as far as I know. It had the overdose prevention site. People from all across Canada were there, like the grassroots activists doing this stuff. A lot of psychedelic and entheogenic people were there, including professors and people actually doing research and that. There was a lot of cannabis people there talking about policy and different things. There was some
Acid
government
heads.
people there, and mostly cool government people that are trying to do good things within the system.
Really cool.
And there was also a lot of they had a drug testing machine set up there, and they had like an overdose prevention site at the facility. They don't just talk the walk; they walk it, right? So
nice.
It was really good. And I was
walk
really inspired.
it like they talk it.
Yeah, I was inspired by meeting a lot of these people, and it was good to have this crosstalk because we don't always get, this entheogenic people and the overdose prevention people talking to each other like that, and having all this stuff.
Totally.
And I think it's all, to me, different sides of the same puzzle, right? Yeah, I was inspired. The same equation. And so I think having this kind of group is really important. And I think that's the future.
Really
I think it's the future. It's going to be a big thing, I think, because it all ties together. And cannabis is the first step, but it's not the last step, right? All these things, and I think it's going to really grow. And the overdose death crisis
the
that's
last
happening.
step is DMT, man.
It's going to help make change, I think, by having a lot of...
Yes. Yeah, it's true. And it's crazy that we're coming so far with one substance, but there are so many other substances out there. And is it going to be is there going to be this stigma for all of them every time?
I mean, sadly, there's a lot of cannabis users who are like, yeah, legalize cannabis so we can crack down on all the other druggies and get all those junkies and get all that stuff. And that there's still definitely people I see in the cannabis movement who are like, injection drug users deserve to die. They're all stupid. They're making a choice to kill themselves.
Jesus.
Why do we care about those people?
Those people are just assholes, though.
On Sensible BC or on my own page, definitely a lot of kind.
They lack humanity.
Well, I think people don't understand how it works, right? They don't understand how human behavior is, and that why people make a choice to use drugs, and what opioids are pain relieving substances. And when people are choosing to use opioids, it's often because they're in such pain that if pain can drive you fucking crazy, people will risk their lives to eliminate that pain for a little while and just feel relief for a little while. And sometimes it's just physical pain, and being poor and homeless and living on the street, if you're sleeping in the street, you experience a lot of pain. You're hungry, you're tired, you're not in a good place. And if something's available that you can take for $5, it's going to take that pain away for a while. Woo-hoo! And a lot of people have psychic pain, and they were abused as children. They had traumatic things happen to them, and these things can take that pain away. And so instead of thinking this person is such an idiot for doing this, think of someone who's in such desperate circumstance that they're willing to risk. They know the risk, but they're in such unhappy situations that they're willing to take that risk to have that. And so that's... people do drugs for a lot of different reasons, right? And they drink alcohol and do other things for different reasons. And people, should be encouraged to have healthy lifestyles, and not using substances can be part of that. But the whole abstinence-only concept, and that people should not be using it all, taking drugs is normal and natural, and we should be making safe, clean drugs available for those who need them in some kind of a regulated fashion that doesn't push people to force them to have to risk death every time they want to relieve their pain for a little while. And some of that should be offering alternatives and offering cannabis instead of opiates, or kratom also is wonderful instead of opiates. But for some people, those things aren't necessarily enough, right? And opiates are a wonderful medicine that have great healing or pain relieving powers. And so that,
coca?
Yeah, coca also. And coca has amazing medicinal value too. A lot of fibromyalgia patients drink coca tea and get relief off of it and have a lot of benefits that way.
Yeah.
And so there's, all these banned substances. We need new approaches and new ways. And I think the first step is really to get back to the plant. Yeah, absolutely. To get back to the plant medicine aspects of things, and get back to plants. For a lot of these things, their most medicinal value is in the plant, or like the less concentrated form, right?
Yeah.
We should be regulating drugs by dosage and potency, and less just by the substance itself. To treat a coca leaf the same as cocaine doesn't make any sense, right? And so we need to look at the potency and dosage and how we regulate things, and not just
all drugs have value when used properly. It's prohibition that's causing people to die from opioids that are tainted with fentanyl. It would not be happening without prohibition, absolutely. And as you were saying, we have the Cannabis Substitution Project. Dana's been a big part with his organization of helping us do this for almost 20 months now, handing out hundreds of edibles every time we go there. We've been doing it twice a week since February now.
I mean, liking every post you do. I think it's amazing what you guys are doing down there and helping the people that are so in need.
We're helping them get access to cannabis as a medicine to help offset the use of opioids, and of course it helps them with lots of other things as well. And we're doing it there, and we're giving it away because the people that we're helping out there also face the barrier of poverty. And I really appreciate Dana's words about the people that are perhaps down there that are struggling with addiction and risking their lives by using street drugs, and what it is that they're doing, and why they would be doing that, and who they are. These are the abused children of our society. They deserve as much compassion as we can. Dr. Gabor Mate, who's had a lifetime of experience down there, says that addiction is a response to trauma. It's a response to that void and that emptiness that happens to people when they're separated from their families, or when they've been raped, or when traumatic things have happened to them. And there, but for the grace of God, go any one of us. You can listen to the stories of the people that line up every week to get our cannabis care packs. And you curl the back of your hair, and you think, well, my God, how did you even get to here and survive this, right? So we should be really compassionate to those people, and society needs to understand that those people have been used as scapegoats for all this time to justify drug prohibition, and that we have to prohibit drugs, and we can't let people use marijuana because it's a gateway to these harder drugs, and look what happens when that happens. But the vast majority of the people that are stuck with those types of addictions that are referred to on the downtown east side are people that, like so many people that tried the harder drugs on their rise into adulthood, and the most of those people try it, say, no, that's not for me. But the 1% that does, those are people that have that internal trauma, that pain that's going on that they're dealing with every day, and they find some relief from that. And they go, if they've got resources and they've got a medical profession on their side, they can get, drugs from them that can help them. But so many people spiral down into poverty when they're suffering those types of situations and that trauma and the mental illness that follows that, and they don't do well in jobs, they don't do well in relationships, they end up in places like the downtown east side where the services are there for them, and so we're trying to help that population of people that has the poverty barrier as well as the pain going on that requires them to use these drugs on a regular basis, and we're giving them an alternative. And it doesn't work for everybody, but it works for a lot of them. It's very effective. I know that there's been a double-blind study done with peer-reviewed that shows that cannabis is an effective replacement for people using opioids for severe pain and other things. So it's the right way to go, and I'm really happy with Dana and all those donators to our project that have helped us do this for almost 20 months now, and there's no end in sight. We're going to just keep helping people. So that's awesome.
Good work, Neil.
And as you're pointing out there, this kind of stuff of providing cannabis for cheap or discounts, that's not going to become legal on the 17th. It still remains prohibited, right? You'd have to, the only way you could legally do that would be to buy cannabis 30 grams at a time from a legal shop, and then he'd be allowed to give that away to people if he wanted to, and then go buy 30 grams more and then give that away. But that's not feasible, right? And he wouldn't be able to sell it to people, and even the shop isn't allowed to sell it under cost. If they want to say, well, if we want to offer it to certain people at discount, we'll cover half the cost if you're whatever. They can't do that, right? So there's none of that's allowed. And I think those are important things that people need, and so I want to try to help.
I saw comments from the Blue Door. The Blue Door has been helping people on the downtown east side, right at Main and Hastings, for a long time, several years down there, and they've had really low-priced cannabis, fairly good cannabis, lots of different strains to choose from for a very long time, and they're now going to be a licensed shop using LP weed, and I saw the owner comment on Facebook and say that well, they can give sales to people, because I was saying, well, you're not going to be able to offer the same thing that you were before. People can't buy $5 grams of decent bud off of you anymore. She goes, well, certainly we can have sales. Well, apparently not.
They can have sales. They can sell it. I think they can sell it at cost, so they can't charge less than the wholesale cost.
Yeah, you're not allowed to charge less than what it costs.
$8.50 a gram to buy it. They could sell it with no profit margin, but still all the taxes and things would be in there.
So it's still $10 a gram.
I thought it was 75 cents a gram. Were they made off it or something like that?
Well, they can. I think as a private retailer, you can charge whatever you want. I think once you get your wholesale, I don't think you're controlled on what retail price you can charge.
But you're saying they can't go below wholesale?
You can't go below. You can't
go below the price you pay for it.
Below the wholesale price, you're not allowed to do. So you can't offer it,
which is ridiculous.
You can't subsidize someone else's, or offer as a discount,
or offer a loss leader,
and then we charge you. Or the first week we're doing everything half off.
Because it's a business practice that's fairly normal, that you would do something. They call it the loss leaders. You buy a product, sell it at less than you paid for it, because it gets people into the store, and then they buy all the more expensive products.
Yeah, you could have a strain, or if something's not selling that month, okay, you put it on sale just to get it out of the shop, right? If something doesn't, people don't like it, well, you knock half price off because this one strain, nobody's buying it, right? So they don't have that flexibility, and certainly they can't donate it or give it away.
Or you're not allowed to advertise sales. That's the other thing.
In British Columbia, you can't promote a location as a place that you should go after smoking cannabis.
Yeah.
So you can't. Not only can you not say you can't come to our lounge to smoke. You can't even say like, looking for a place to have dinner, got the munchies, and want to come to Old Spaghetti Factory. This is a place you could enjoy. We'll make it 420 friendly environment. You can't promote a place. I don't know exactly how that plays out, but under the BC control laws, you cannot advertise or promote a location as a place to go after using cannabis.
That is so weird.
Which isn't even like a lot of these things are really absurd. These laws, and that's why I want to protest at the legislature, because it's not just the BC laws they put in, so that you can't possess. You can only possess 30 grams in public. That's the federal law. But the federal law puts no limit on how much you can have at home. So you can go to the shop every day, buy 30 grams, and you can also grow your own 4 plants or whatever. Mm-hmm. But BC law, you can't have more than 1 kilo at home, 1,000 grams in your possession at a time. And a seed counts as a gram. So if you've got 500 seeds at your house and you can only have a half of a kilo, seems like a lot of cannabis to have at one time. But think of somebody who's growing their 4 plants and wants to make a supply for themselves for the coming year. Under Health Canada's own rules, they consider the average yield for an outdoor plant to be 375 grams when they're calculating how much you can grow based on how many grams a day with their formula for medical users. One plant is 375 grams a year. So by their own average amount, your 4 plants should get you 1.5 kilos. And now BC government says, well, okay, you got to throw away that half a kilo. You know, I would try to dispose of it by rolling it into paper cylinders and burning it up 1 gram at a time. But,
handful at a time on the downtown east side, maybe.
But these rules, they're not really enforceable. It's kind of a dumb law. But then why do you make a law that you can't enforce? It just means it's going to get enforced randomly against unlucky people or people for whatever thing. And like
bingo, that's
or a law that is in such it's in such contradiction to the regulations around alcohol, which has been such a scourge on our society. You know, on every Friday and Saturday night in Vancouver's downtown east.
Bar at home with all kinds of booze. And they always, they'll do things. Oh, these guys had enough drugs to kill all these people. Well, every liquor store has got enough liquor to kill thousands of people if they want to calculate it like that.
And I can buy the whole liquor store and leave. They will not limit me for what I want.
Yeah, you can drive it all home.
I can buy. I want to buy all your scotch, all your beer, everything.
You can grow way more tobacco than that, and you can certainly possess way more cartons of smokes.
35 kilos you can grow. There's a limit how much you can possess.
As a historical example, though, with liquor, you used to have to sign when they first ended Prohibition in Canada. You actually had to go and sign a form. I think for like 30 years after Prohibition, you had to sign a form to get liquor, and they would ask you your profession, and certain professions would only be allowed to have so much booze. You wouldn't, and if they thought at any time you were taking too much booze, they could cut you off.
And they would get it in a paper bag, and there was no promotion, just like cannabis now, right? No labeling, no advertising. The store that sells it can't advertise. For 10 years in BC, after alcohol prohibition ended, they couldn't. All the sign could say was open outdoors.
Yeah.
And then after that, they could add a sign saying licensed establishment for another 10, 20 years.
Licensed establishment.
And that's why the one thing these governments always say, oh, we'll make it strict now because it's so much easier to loosen things up later. And it's for governments. It's way easier to tighten shit up. They're good at tightening shit up. They're good at making strict rules and that. What they're not good at is loosening shit up.
No.
They're terrible at that.
Or taking laws off the books.
Decades. Yeah, to reverse this stuff will take decades. They'll just stop enforcing it long before they actually take it off the
Dana,
books.
do you think that they're really just scared that if they came out and said cannabis, okay, we were wrong, cannabis is not harmful, it shouldn't even have ever been prohibited, do you think that they just feel that they're culpable and that they'd be liable to some sort of prosecution or civil action?
I mean, for instance, in BC, the BC government just came in a year ago. They're totally not, I mean, they were in power before, but these people who got elected are not responsible for cannabis prohibition at all. They were never in power during Prohibition to make those choices. They never. So for them, and some of these things, I mean, like, to the 1,000-gram limit at home, or the nobody can see your plant.
Or using in a boat.
Yeah, some of these
things. They can't smell it. You know, I smoke weed in my backyard. The whole neighborhood reeks.
I think they get all the people together who are against pot, and they go, what are you worried about? And they go, well, we're worried we're going to see these plants. Okay, my kids are going to see it. Okay, so no one can do that. No one can do that. And I think they just respond to the negative people and the police. And there's this group thinking politicians that's in our whole society that, like, these things are bad, and you've got to keep it bad, and it's not allowed, and that... it's hard for them to break out of that mentality and maybe to recognize that they were lying or wrong or something. But it's something people are so ingrained in them and so pushed in them so hard for so long. And a lot of people have had this their whole lives, and as children they've been told that. But on the other hand, a lot of these politicians that are passing these laws, I know they smoke weed. They know Justin Trudeau definitely smoked weed a lot more than that one time.
Of course.
And Horgan, I know, has smoked cannabis many times. And most Felicity Clark smoked weed a ton of times. And most people in British Columbia have at least tried it and understand it. I would think it's more MLAs, probably the minority are the ones who have never tried cannabis in their lives.
Yes.
So you'd think that people who've experienced it would, but...
Well, the people that are in charge of a lot of the LPs, I've seen media and stuff where they're asking them if they smoke, and they're like, we don't do that stuff. These are they don't. It's like the guy at the winery not ever trying his wine or something.
So it's just leftover stigma.
Cookies winery. Like,
yeah.
Well, so here's a great example of this weirdness. Crossing the border into the U.S., it's always been a problem for marijuana users. If you admit to having been ever using cannabis in your life, customs can turn you away at certain...
Maybe that's why they're saying it.
But now that we've got rich people and investors who are starting to get stopped, and they were like, oh, but I'm rich and white. These laws shouldn't apply to me.
Right.
And America said, okay, you're right. So here's the new rule now they got from the States. If you are an investor or you work in the cannabis industry, as long as you're not coming to the States on cannabis business, then it's not a problem to enter, as long as you don't use cannabis. So, because if you admit to using it, that's still moral turpitude. So if I'm a cannabis seller and I don't use it and I sell cannabis to Neil and we go down together and I go, well, I don't use cannabis, but I sell it as part of my business. And I sold it to him. They say, you get the fuck out of here, but I'm allowed in because I don't use it. I only sell the stuff, but I don't smoke it. That's the effect of these laws, right? Because they're allowing investors and people in the cannabis industry in now. And it's exactly like the white privilege thing, right? Because who are the people investing? They're the wealthy people, the whatever, and the people that are actually smoking the stuff. Well, that's
a fucking
it allows
joke.
them to continue to discriminate against the groups they want to discriminate against. So that to me is like, I'd rather they block everybody. I think it's good that the powerful people are going to get blocked too because they'll make a change. But I thought the change was going to be for everybody. I didn't think it was only going to be for them, right? But what was I thinking, right? What the fuck was I thinking? That they would open it up for everybody?
No.
I got mine, Jack. I got mine, Jack.
Never smoked in my life.
No.
Just sell it to everyone. Everybody else smokes it.
I don't smoke
I sit back and never touch it.
That's,
how is that? That's a moral judgment or something, though.
Like it's an act of moral turpitude.
It is.
And under their regulation, that's something that gets you banned. Like if other things you can have criminal records for, and it's not the same. But
no, they're immoral. They're the ones that are immoral.
Under the American definition, there's one or two things, and smoking cannabis is one of them. Or taking any illegal drug is considered a crime that you don't, even if you're not convicted or whatever. Just admitting to having done it in the past gets you banned for a long time.
Well, not having smoked weed when you're from BC gets you banned here too. So.
Yeah, you're trying to get back into Canada. No,
Mr.
your
Cookie.
THC level is too low.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you in. You haven't smoked enough weed in your life. Crazy world, man. It's upside down crazy world. We're going to Victoria on Wednesday to protest that.
You leaving, Johnny?
Here in Vancouver, I want to say.
Johnny's out. Bye, Johnny boy.
See you, Johnny.
Bye, Johnny. It's getting.
Love you, Johnny.
Right on October 17th from 3 to 6 p.m. at the legislature grounds.
Are you going?
Heard.
No.
And then here in Vancouver in Robson Square, starting at noon. Are we on? Yeah, we're on. There's going to be a protest there. I don't know if they're going to celebrate at all, but they're going to sell some weed there in Robson Square, and there's going to be a bunch of people show up there. I also heard today on CKNW a young woman spouting off about all the harms of cannabis and how legalization's a bad thing and secondhand smoke is going to kill a bunch of people and there's going to be drunk drivers driving through sidewalks.
Oh, yeah, secondhand smoke
She
will
was
kill
just
you.
insane. And she's going to be there with her group, and she says a whole bunch of other groups that are against legalization.
At the legislature?
At Robson Square.
Oh.
And they're going to be there Monday as well as Wednesday.
Clash of the Titans.
Interviewers asked me that there's going to be a counter protest. And I said, well, if they're at the if they're at the legislature, people can counter.
It's a big place.
Protest.
But I don't know if there'll be. But maybe he was thinking of the art gallery, and I'm not really involved.
Well, it's not the art gallery. Well, it is. I guess it's the other side. It's the Robson Street side of the art gallery.
Whenever those guys come out, they're so goofy. They just don't. They have no.
Is that the?
I wish I was there to talk to them.
They came to 420 a couple of years ago,
they've been there before. They come out with the masks on.
But they didn't come. They haven't been to 420. The last time they were there. They came to our first one at Sunset Beach, didn't they? But that's like been.
They did. No, they came to.
They were only at the art gallery.
They came to the art gallery.
I think. Yeah, they hadn't come.
And this woman she mentioned Pamela McCall's group. She didn't mention Pamela by name, but that was the person she gave as reference for people that have good studies and evidence to show this stuff.
I have an enemy. Yeah. Pamela McCall's a pretty good one because she's kind of not very effective, right?
No, she's great. Yeah, because she looks like an idiot, and she is. So it's like
get her wound up, and she's a nut bar.
And I feel bad for someone. I guess I shouldn't feel bad.
She makes money doing that. Don't feel bad for her. The pharmaceutical industry pays her.
I feel bad because she makes herself look so ridiculous.
So miserable and unhappy about everything and hating on cannabis all the time.
If you're filled with that much hate, man, you got to feel sorry for those people.
Clearly got cannabinoid deficiency syndrome.
Exactly.
She's messing them up, and they just need some more weed. In
she needs to. One day she's gonna eat a gummy bear that's not the right type, and she's gonna be like, "Whoa, rainbow banana, man." Yeah. She.
What was I? Gonna change all these people one puff at a time, one gummy at a time.
Saul on the road to Damascus. It gets converted and stops prosecuting. She'll be the top legalization advocate of all time.
Well, there's lots of those people.
She'll start calling herself the princess.
We're on the other side that have changed their mind for sure. Sanjay Gupta and many others.
There are. They never really go the other way, though. You don't see a lot that go
a lot of ex-cannabis
go straight. Oh wait, didn't David Arquette? David Arquette. I think he's the only one.
Yeah, weed is the reason I messed my life up, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I think we can wrap this up. It's 6:30. It's been 2.5
hat's floating off to the side.
I know I don't usually wear it. I just make it hover magically.
The hovering hat. That's some good special effects. You guys have really upped the special effects budget here with the hovering hat trick.
Oh, there you go. Side
yeah. You just gotta CGI out that hand there, and it'll be perfect. Good stuff.
I like it.
Don't wear that to get
It's like David Malmo-Levine.
Yeah, you stand out, dude.
There's something crawling around in here. I'm just joking. Kind of wild animals do you keep in there?
So make sure on the 17th you go look up your green market dealer and don't go to the government stores and protest and call your MLAs.
Green market.
But if you go to the government store, make sure you just complain about the weed. Just open it and be like,
it would be fun to have.
I can't look at it.
I bet there'll be a giant lineup. I mean, if it was in town, I would go to the legal shop just to check it out and see what's going on.
To laugh about it.
To have all these people there, and then you all go in, you look around, and you're like, no. And there's a bunch of dispensaries in Kamloops too, right? So you could be like, no, I'm gonna go. This place has got way better stuff, and then go down to the dispensary.
Well, as soon as somebody comes out with a bag, you want to break that bag open and see what it looks like, right?
You're not allowed to open the bag in the shop.
No, I mean that's when you come out of the shop.
It's a serious fine if you open that bag.
I did see though in the the BC regulations.
You're allowed to sniff.
There's a sniff jar, but it says there's a big red line across it that says information on sniff jars coming soon.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
You can smell it, but we're not sure.
They're not quite ready for that yet.
It's got to be secured to the counter with a thick chain, and there's got to be the sniff openings can only be so many millimeters big.
Yeah.
The weed might fall out, and
you can't put your nose in
nuclear.
Yeah,
the staff might get the harms of cannabis on them somehow. Oh no!
So there's just going to be the edibles and extracts and things, man. Like it's going to be so complicated the way they're doing this, right? Like if they're going to use the same model for all these products, all going through the wholesale department, it's going to be a massive catalog of things that come from the BC all through, and it doesn't need to go through all their hands, right? But it's going to make all these things like it's just I can just see.
And meanwhile, we'll be there April 20th.
Enough.
We'll be there April 20th next year at 420 with 700 vendors that aren't legal that are selling their extracts and their.
I think we should. I think we should take over more. I don't think Sunset Beach is big enough. We got to take over more of the beach, or maybe.
Oh my lord!
Second stage, a little farther down the beach.
We should do one at Sunset Beach, another one maybe at some
English
other.
Bay.
Go for it, Dana.
3 or 4 simultaneous events.
Go, you can go right for it.
From Stanley Park.
Jeremiah's going, no, don't make it bigger.
We can franchise it out,
please. Yeah, it's already. We could. Hey, if we had more help on it, that'd be great. I'd love that. If we had some sponsors, people, maybe.
Not LPs.
Well, since they can't be Aurora,
we should be able to scale up. Maybe somebody give us $1 million and we'll do the whole thing. We'll do it on. We'll take over the entire beach. Both sides.
Would you take their money if they let you still
Vancouver
do it
Aquatic
your way
Center?
With, illegal vendors?
Yeah, we can have a 420 swim at the Aquatic Center.
We've never had that issue, but what would we take if Canopy came and wanted to give us a bunch of money and just to put their banner up and not do any other changes to our event? I would, it's hard to say.
Canopy?
Or any company, whatever company.
Other companies, Aurora, yes. Canopy, no.
Okay.
The CEO of Aurora has also said in the media that dispensaries should be shut down.
Who did?
They said nice things about. They said nice things sometimes too.
No.
I can absolutely get
not
you quotes.
recently. Cam Batley.
Not recently.
Cam Batley said before he worked for Aurora, he said that stuff. But when he started working for Aurora, he changed his tune real quick. And the guy who owns Aurora, Terry Booth, or like the biggest shareholder of Aurora, the guy who started it, they've been sponsoring 420 up until just a couple years ago because they weren't allowed anymore. So, but Terry, from the very beginning of Aurora, sponsored 420 every year. There's Aurora banners every 420 up until just a couple years ago. Yeah, and I don't know.
I live in hope that these LPs will change their mind at any moment and say good things. That's what I hope for.
There's some other weed companies that I may not like or that I think are assholes, but I wouldn't necessarily say I think you're an asshole, so you can't. If I thought they were really unethical to rip people off, that's one thing. But if I just happen to not get along with some dab company for whatever reason, or I don't like their politics that doesn't mean I feel we should not allow them to advertise. So I wouldn't say LP should never be permitted to advertise. Like
Canopy is never going to be allowed.
Canopy, I hate.
I'm sorry, but Canopy is not. We can't let.
Well, and my question was more about whether or not we would take their money as long as they didn't force us to not. Do certain things, right? As long as there's no, criteria along
people's money for stuff.
I wouldn't mind taking the money, but there's certain people you just can't take money from.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
But yeah, most of them. I mean, shit. I don't know which LPs are good and bad.
Canopy's got to pay 5 times. Like
Freddie Pritchard will probably tell you the ones that are bad, which is all of them.
Oh, Freddie Pritchard sold out, man. You see, I got his picture with Bill Blair together. He's joined the man now. I didn't think that Freddie would go over there, but
Freddie,
Buddy were like buddy.
Hey, I was Bill Blair's buddy for a night.
How long have they been hanging? This is how I always thought Freddie. No, he's the go.
Jerry Martin and I went to see Bill Blair at a town forum, and I hung with Bill Blair before the meeting, after the meeting, and I walked him out to his car. I wouldn't stop.
Just selling out. Everybody's selling out all over.
No, I wasn't selling out. I told him he should be arrested and he should be ashamed of himself. So I wasn't selling out at all. But I did spend a lot of time with him. There's pictures of us together. Cool. We're probably both smiling.
They were both smiling. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and Jerry too.
We got to see that picture.
But we got his ear, man. You get somebody like, and then a week later, he's not in that job anymore. He's getting this new job.
Do you have his Facebook here? Let's look it up.
I don't know if we got to him or not, but we had a whole evening of getting.
Oh, really?
Getting to try anyway. It was good.
Let's see here.
So what are you doing?
I'm looking up the Freddie picture. I just want to see it.
I'm just having some fun with Freddie.
Freddie would never sell out. Freddie's a good guy. He's solid.
But it's funny. People were saying that about that picture, and I just thought it was funny. I mean, whatever.
Sure.
Freddie will be the last man.
Oh, there it is. Whoa, and look at it. Bill Blair actually looks like he's got a smile on his face.
Oh, they're stoked, I bet.
How do we get to see this?
That's really funny.
Over here.
Yeah, oh, there it is.
One guy's saying 420 is a protest and not that it needs sponsorship. But, it costs a lot of money to put that protest on, right? So that's why we do the
it's a really expensive.
Like a profit-making event.
It's a protest that costs $350,000.
So if they want to give us money to help us protest what they're doing.
Freddie's like, yeah, we're going to go smoke after. Bill's like,
Bill looks happier than Freddie.
Yeah, here, we're going to do that. It's the
eyes. That's good, bro. Freddie's a hero.
Yeah, you can see it. I love it. Bill Blair's face is funny.
Yeah. No, Freddie's been right about a lot of the direction that things have gone for sure.
Fingers in the eyes.
Wise guy.
And we'll still see how enforcement goes, but Freddie certainly has been right about the direction of the laws and the regulations and stuff.
There's also that's all true, but there's also been some things like, for instance, the driving stuff, where a lot of police forces are saying we're not going to use this Draeger test anymore. Right. If they don't use the Draeger test, they can't convict you of impaired driving through the 0.5 nanogram, whatever that limit, the 5 nanogram limit.
Right.
They can still say you're impaired if they do the drug recognition test, but they do that now.
Yeah.
So that's not really changing. That's still not the greatest system, but it's better than the arbitrary limit.
That saliva testing is scary, though.
And so I think it's still a lot. It's not like that problem's all solved, but we're already seeing that it's starting to weaken. It's not like it's rock solid. A lot of police forces, and they're saying no. That means that the ones that say yes, we've got an argument in court. Well, look, the other cops don't even want to use it.
Right.
That's like an argument that is, so there's
that one's going to go down in court.
It'll fail for sure. But here's my own.
We're going to be able to fight a lot of.
Here's some anecdotal stuff. I've been driving 45 years. 45 years. I love to drive. I've driven 1 million miles. I've been pulled over 100+ times. I am sure. I don't think I've ever been pulled over twice in a row that weed wasn't an issue. between me and the officer at the time. It's just every single time. So here, went to Saskatchewan recently to go see the Prairie Harvest Medicinal Cup. It was awesome. And I got pulled over 3 times on that trip.
What the hell are you doing?
Well, I drove 4,600 miles. I got pulled over the first time because it was foggy.
What you got on your car?
Outside of Calgary, it's foggy.
It's got a mattress on the top
I pulled
of it.
a U-turn. I pulled a U-turn outside of Calgary, trying to get to a motel because I could see the sign in the fog, but couldn't figure out how to get the.
That's how you got pulled over last time.
That cop was awesome. He just told us how to get to where we were going. Never mentioned nothing about weed. Then I get pulled over in Whitewood.
Jeez, Neil, use a driveway.
In the town, just Broadview, Saskatchewan, 2,000 kilometers from here, because he couldn't see my temporary permit in the back because of the tinted glass. So that's why he pulled me over. Came to the window and says, I see your permit now. You're all good to go. We had a little chat. Nothing about weed. I was wearing a weed shirt, got the roaches in the ashtray.
All right.
The third time I was speeding. I was trying to get out of Calgary before the snowstorm that hit. And so I was going a little fast.
Against the weather.
And I don't know where that cop came from, but RCMP in a pickup truck was all of a sudden pulling me over. I thought I was being real careful about who I was passing and shit. But all of a sudden, there he is in my rearview mirror pulling me over.
Passing.
And he gave me a ticket for speeding and didn't say a word about weed. And 3 times in a row, I thought, wow, that is incredible. I get back to Vancouver. 3 days ago, I'm sitting at Cambie and Broadway in my car, and I'm trying to look up the phone number for a friend because another friend had gone missing for a while. So I'm sitting at the intersection at red light, and I'm doing that, and I get a tap on the glass, and there's the VPD guy right there in my window. I got my Gibson glass mustache toker with a half a joint in it going in the other hand over here. I got the ashtray full. There's a big half joint in there. I got my weed shirt on. I'm sure the puff of smoke. He never said word one about weed through the whole thing. He did give me a ticket for distracted driving. He was so awesome. And I told him, I said, I've never had a ticket for distracted driving. He said, I came over to give you a ticket for no seatbelt, but I see you got your seatbelt on, but you got your phone in your hand. So
you were parked or you were driving?
No, I was stopped at a red light.
Oh,
and I told him once in a while at a red light, if it's important, I'll look up a phone number, but I don't text and drive and shit.
Do it.
And so he comes back with a ticket. The ticket's for $383.
Who the hell are you calling?
He says, I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to follow my instructions. He said, if you go here, you can pay it at 25% off for paying early, but I don't want you to do that. He said, I want you to dispute the ticket, take it to court. I'll go to court. I'll tell the judge why you should get a much less fine than what this thing is, and because there's no mitigating circumstances whatsoever. You go have yourself a nice day.
Yeah.
But anyway, 4 in a row, never mentioned weed, and this time for sure. I mean, I was smoking a joint when he pulled me and rolled the window down.
For those days.
So things are changing for sure. That's what they said at the Prairie Cup. They started it with a little video that Jeff did an awesome job of the cup and did an awesome job of that. And the whole theme was things there are changing. And my opening remarks were, well, yeah, times they are changing, but we're not changing. And they're going to have to keep changing to catch up to where we are and what's right. But they are changing.
The future, baby.
They are changing. And I think the police's attitude is going to change a lot. I think there's a lot of cops that have hated having to hassle people for weed.
Yeah.
That it doesn't fit with who their family is or who they are. And so I think they're going to have a real change in enforcement coming up.
I think it's hard to say, and there's a lot of tough talk going on, right? But at the same time, they called when there was they discovered there was home delivery services for weed going on the news, and they tried to call around, and a lot of cops wouldn't talk to them. But they got the Delta cops. The Delta cops were like, well, it's more of a regulatory kind of thing, selling weed without a permit. It's not really a big priority for us. So, they're passing these laws with these 14 years and all these things. And some people will get caught in those nets. Guarantee it, right? But I don't think, and some people are saying, it's going to be a mass enforcement. But I don't really think, even with the more money for the cops and all the bullshit, I just don't know. I feel that they couldn't control this stuff under prohibition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I already qualify for severe mandatory minimums for running a dispensary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what worse it can get, I still think that we got a lot of work to do.
Well, they could just start enforcing those laws.
Yeah, but
they won't survive the courts.
But, I mean, they've tried.
They won't survive the media.
Haven't they tried, like in Toronto? I mean, haven't they tried as hard as they can? Like, haven't the police tried as hard as they could to shut down dispensaries? They spent a lot of money, a lot of raids. I don't think they skimped on trying to shut them down.
No.
And they got some of them closed, but there's still a lot of dispensaries in Toronto, as I understand. There's still a lot of places selling cannabis there, right? And so I think they tried as hard as they could. And I just don't know, what extra they can do.
I don't think they tried as hard as the Quebec police.
Well, Quebec took,
there
also
you go.
started more slowly. There's still dispensaries in Quebec. There's still medical dispensaries in Quebec. Not nearly as many as Toronto. They didn't get the breakthrough.
Only one or two, though.
There's a couple. Yeah, no, it's much less. It's much less in
Mark,
Quebec. Yeah, absolutely.
Boris, Saint, whatever.
There's a couple. Yeah, there's more than him, but there's not that many. That's right. But I mean, overall, But
they won't win, and they can't win, and you can't enforce these laws, and then they're not going to win in Quebec either. Pretty soon there's going to be a revolt there about it, especially when the rest of the country is doing things way differently. We're going to win. We passed the tipping point. I'm very confident in that. Every time there's an issue, there's hundreds of people that seem to, voice their opinion. There's lots of people that stand up and get heard. Social media is awesome. Every time there's a story, there's a whole rift of comments that, that set the record straight and stuff. It's a matter of time. We're in a transition period here. We're still fighting the evil empire. I don't think any of us really thought they were just going to give up and say, okay, well, grow whatever you want, sell whatever you want.
That's the dream.
That is the dream, and maybe
Justin
we'll get
Trudeau
there.
Comes up, tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Canada. It was wrong. I want to.
I know because I've kind of practiced it a couple of times over my couple of decades here that when there's real legalization and we're actually as free as what we're fighting for, I'm going to cry. I'm gonna cry. I can't help myself. I know how I'm gonna feel about that.
Quit smoking weed.
And I'm gonna be there in front of the legislature on the 17th. There talking about this, and I don't think I'm gonna be crying. I don't think I'm going to be crying yet. We got a ways to go yet.
Bring some onions to raw onions.
You can make me cry if you want, but the real, true, heartfelt. Oh my God, we finally did this, and it's been so fucking horrible for so long. I've met so many people personally that have been harmed in such serious ways because of this horrible prohibition against this amazing plant. That when that happens, when I really feel like we've done it, I'm gonna bawl my eyes out like a schoolgirl. I just know I am, because I can feel it now too when I'm talking about it. But I know we're not there yet. I feel that as well, that we've still got a long way to go, but I think we passed the tipping point. I agree with you. We got a lot to celebrate. We got a lot to celebrate for getting us to here. This is what they had to do because, damn it, we won. So they're going, okay, well, I guess they won. We can't keep prohibiting it and lying about it because, the truth is kind of out there. So let's give them what they're asking for. Let's legalize and regulate like we were asking for. We were a bit naive in that. What they said, well, we can legalize it so they can use it if they buy it off of us, and we'll regulate it so most of them can't get a license.
Whatever word you use
we're gonna win
can be
that
twisted
too.
around, right? You say you want to decriminalize, they go, okay, well, make it not a crime. It's $1,000 fine for possession.
Because they weren't going to give it a piece. There's a lot of money at stake
we
here.
Didn't ask for the wrong thing.
The gangs have been making a ton of money off of the users for a long time. The cops have been making a lot of money off the users for a long time. The pharmaceutical companies having their interests protected. The alcohol people. There's a whole bunch of people that have been making a whole ton of money for a long time because cannabis is prohibited or they're attempting to prohibit it. And those people don't want to not keep making money. And they've structured it so that most of them can keep making money, unfortunately. But it's still not right, and we're still going to win because we're going in the right direction. And if you listen to the news, I listen to the news all day, every day, and they're saying the right things. Drex's show is amazing.
It's troubling reading that stuff about
I thought his name
Quebec.
was Dr. X.
Dr. X?
Dr. X.
Dr. X. Dr. X.
That's his bar name.
We were just reading about 8 dispensary raids yesterday.
So first of all, that means that there was 8 more dispensaries than you thought there was in Quebec.
Freddie says 12
more dispensaries than I thought there were.
I know they all, and I heard about that. I wasn't sure of the numbers, and that's a bad sign. But what we want to see is how do they get to reopen or not. But I think there's a lot more dispensaries around than we realize, right? And on First Nations land in Ontario, there's some areas where there's like 50 in one little tiny spot, right? And those are going to be doubly hard to get rid of, especially when so. I think there's still
good on the indigenous people. They have really embraced this in many ways, and there's a lot of that going on.
Good.
So it's not. There's a lot going on.
That's what needs to happen.
I like that.
How many more hours does the show go on for?
Just 5 more hours.
7 hours.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
No, we're over. We're done. I know it's time to go. We're long past due.
To legalization.
But we almost did the 3-hour mark here. It's like 10 more minutes, and it would have been 3 hours. But we don't need to do that. It's time to go. I'm tired.
We got to do 4 hours. I thought every show was 4 hours and 20 minutes. Wasn't that the shtick that you always?
That's including prep.
Yeah, prep.
Carly Marley though
in the house
never came on the show.
Never even came on.
Didn't you come on for a second earlier on? And she said something. She had asked a question.
You did have a question.
Oh, she did ask a question.
But this show gets kind of girly. I mean, if we have too many girls on here, it's good to have like about 9 or 10, 99% males for most of the stuff. Otherwise, it's the energy.
Like Carly totally makes up for it on Mondays with her 420 lifestyle show. They got lots of female content on that show. It's awesome.
I want Carly to come on the show, though. Do you want to come in and talk to us for a couple?
I'm gonna go home.
You should come at least and do a dab or something.
Yes.
See you later, Pati.
What happened to Alice?
There was a seat in the middle here.
Wasn't Alice going to come on the show?
Johnny was here.
Did you ask Alice to come on earlier, or she's gone?
Alice? No,
Alice? Just ask Alice.
I asked her to come on next week because we wanted.
Next week.
But we could have had her on this week.
Wow, yeah, it's already.
I don't know where she is though.
I don't know. I'm gonna go find her. Okay.
Oh shit, we should have had her on.
That's all right. We all had lots to say.
Rhymony. Hi, Carly Marley.
Bye.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
It's been a long day. I like your ensemble today with the crazy shoes, though.
Yeah,
where did those come from?
I got them in Ottawa.
Those are dope.
Look how vintage they look. They're not actually, but they look like they are. They look like.
I don't think I've seen those.
I have them in brown. You've seen them in brown.
I've seen them in brown. Never seen the red. So looking fucking sharp, man. Like it. Styles. I know they say it's funny now. We're going into an era where you're not supposed to like comment on what people are wearing or women's clothing. Obviously, with women, it's like a hypersensitivity issue for our culture because but wait, because guys have been commenting on women's looks all the time. But I'm just a person who comments on everybody. When I see somebody and they're wearing something cool, like to Johnny or whoever, like Mark Elyas, I was like, damn, like what's that? Nice outfit, like looks good. And it's not like I don't think
there's a huge difference between wow, that's a really nice dress you've got on, and hey, that's a really nice dress you got on. Like context gives a lot.
Right. And, hey, baby, love those shoes.
And if somebody's your friend, if you walk up to a random person on the street and you're like, I like the way you're dressed, that's always uncomfortable. It's always harassment. But if you tell your friend, I like the way you look today. That's not harassment.
Yeah, because I like people telling me.
I'm going to go way out on a limb here as an old guy and say that in my experience, I think that there's a fair amount of not just women, but people that dress to get compliments and to get comments on them.
Every human, mostly.
Someone says that they,
not everybody,
but if you put effort into what you look like in the morning,
at least a little bit.
It feels nice when someone compliments and appreciates you.
I think it's just about don't be creepy and don't be rude. Don't be rude.
I think most people
be nice, be kind all the time, and you're good to go if you want to compliment somebody on the dress that they chose that morning. If it's in the right spirit, hopefully they're going to say, well, thank you.
Yeah, if you're like, nice dress, toots.
It shows off what you got going
on. Exactly. Neil knows how to do it when he wants to. Love you, Neil. You should take a dab of something. We still have our nail on.
Oh shit! Yeah,
look at there's stuff in here. This was Johnny stole this from over there.
Because he thought it was a cool ashtray.
And it's like full of stuff.
Yeah. But you guys can't just. What if it's from one of the other shows?
I don't know. We don't know.
It probably was from one of the other shows.
It's for the studio.
It's Studio Dabs.
So you have somebody who knows.
Neil says
Johnny's
Studio
like
Dabs.
Smoking the hell out of it.
Neil's the boss, so. There's a lot of goodies in here. What do you want? Sour skunk? Sour ambrosia?
That one looks like it's almost out.
Oh, it's diamonds.
Oh, it's diamonds. Diamonds.
A girl's best friend.
I was just going to say that.
I'll have some of that.
And Jared's best friend.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Yeah, I'm always blinged out. The diamonds.
Dripping?
Yep. No, I don't really wear any jewelry, just my ring.
Ooh, that looks good.
It's diamonds.
Yeah, I'm going to do that one.
And it's gold.
No sauce.
That's still bling.
It's bling, but it's not.
It's not ice, but it's
not iced up.
It ain't diamonds.
It ain't diamonds.
Some nice gold though. Good Dutch gold. Best kind.
Well, of course. But of course.
Vandermeer gold.
So I was just reading an article that I thought was kind of interesting because they were discussing about how in Newfoundland, Labrador, they're going to be, they have their few stores that are opening, some by LPs, some that actually are by smaller smaller owned companies. But it's kind of a cool thing because they actually said that the stores are allowed to open at midnight on the 17th.
Nice.
So
where was this? New Brunswick? Or you sent that one? Or Newfoundland?
Yeah. So on the very far East Coast, they get to open their stores for one day at midnight so that they can have people come as soon as it turns on.
And do they have new cannabis stores? Really? Like, how many do they have?
I have the article I brought.
How many are there?
I wouldn't say there's 5, but
There is LP ones. Yeah, there is LP ones.
Really?
The province's cannabis retailers include large national companies like Canopy Growth and Loblaw, and small operators like Tobin's Convenience in Labrador City. Tobin's, Tobin.
Is it open for like private?
3 cannabis stores in Newfoundland and 1 in Labrador. 8 are in St. John's.
What's the system there, I wonder? Is it a lottery or something?
We did go over that one.
I know, I just can't remember them all now.
I think it was a lottery, but then there's certain ways that...
Damn, man.
Right? It's kind of cool because they were explaining that most provinces, they're allowed to be open from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., but they're letting them open up earlier.
See, that's the kind of fun that you should be allowed to have.
It's kind of like, it's going to start at midnight in like the most eastern time zone, and it's going to work its way. Legalization is going to like roll out over the country towards the West Coast over like 5.5 hours. And I was like, that's really cool. Because if you think about it, people are going to be legally buying weed on October 17th, and it's still going to be illegal here. It's going to be the 16th, and it'll still be illegal.
For 3 hours.
Yeah, but it's kind of
That's kind of cool. I do that actually for some reason made me feel good, like thinking that they can open and do that. Like I wonder how many do they have any dispensaries there that are already open? Like
well, I think that they
medical dispensaries.
I think there is. I don't know if those ones that were open under Activism
we're so far removed.
Regime have managed to get applications in and managed to get, but I mean, like,
I feel bad that I don't know.
Tobin's Convenience, that sounds like
tokens.
Yeah, change your name, bro.
Yeah, come down and get some tweed weed. No, Tobin's no. They're just a convenience store or something.
Yeah, I'm looking into it.
So that's cool. But yeah, I hope oh man, I don't know. I'm having a hard time with this whole thing because I want to be excited about it.
This is weird though, because Tobin serves cold beer
and weed.
What?
So how did they get their license?
Municipal regulation.
Municipal regulation, they're allowed to have beer and...
Well, it's probably a combination of both provincial and municipal.
Or he's selling beer until the 16th, and then at midnight on the 16th, he's switching over to weed.
No, it's because it's...
switched to bombs.
I think there's a provision in the BC regulations for rural areas that allows people who have general stores to sell both liquor and cannabis.
Yeah, like in...
Oh, that makes sense.
In Chilliwack, there's a little spot. I can't think of the name of the town right off the top of the head, but they have a gas station and it has booze in it.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Which is not common in BC. It is in some provinces, but in BC you don't really see
No, in BC you don't see that at all.
It was like Quebec kind of reminded me of. I was like,
in fact, you never allowed that shit. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Did Johnny have the dab tool though?
I don't know.
Drug globbing. Oh,
you can't.
We got a screw.
You can't glob it.
Look.
Totally use a screw.
Oh, here we go. Don't need to.
Yeah, this has the carb cap too.
Everybody could use a screw.
Screw off and screw on. It don't matter.
So yeah,
tight.
Let's do this dab.
Dab on.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I gotta go. And
I think I want to do one too.
Dinner.
Cookie, are you gonna do one?
I don't dab. Only solventless stuff.
Ah.
With that bong.
That's dabbing. What happened? It fell off?
Yeah, this is a stupid dab tool.
Uh-oh. Use the screw.
I kind of want to.
Do it.
Work better.
Just glob it in.
It's not going to do anything to it.
No, you can use any clean kind of metal. If it's food grade metal, you can
right
Oh shit, you got
toolbox.
Screw the screw.
There we go.
You got everything you need right there.
This is perfect.
Nice little box.
Yeah, look at that.
This stuff will be legal to sell. Well, oh no, it actually at first it won't. But eventually it probably will.
Bongs are still illegal, so we'll see what happens on the 17th.
I thought legally the stores are going to be allowed to sell
paraphernalia.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. The Borough Beyond brought a bong up to that legal store in Kelowna, and it's going to be on display.
Oh, really?
I don't know, on display or on for sale, but
that's funny. Sure. Isn't it Kamloops? I thought it was Kamloops.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Kamloops.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I'm gonna go up there and buy some weed. I don't know when.
I was told today that Tokyo Smoke is going to have a pop-up shop here right behind our store in Vancouver.
Behind our store? Literally behind our store, in the parking lot?
In the alley, dude.
No.
No. They're having a pop-up store down the street. Abbott and something.
That is literally like on the same block as us.
I know.
Oh, fuckers. Oh well, that's hilarious. That just makes it easiest for us to all walk down and be like, hi, so by the way.
People I know have been applying for jobs with them.
I know, I've heard that too. I saw somebody got a job with the one face. Like, I don't know who the person it had to be for the community, but.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're looking.
Like, wow,
everybody's hiring.
Working for a company that.
Tokyo Joke.
Like, said a bunch of nasty shit about really hardworking artists in our community. Here you go.
They're goofy, but.
And the worst part is they weren't even like try to be mean. They just know.
No, they're just pretentious.
They know so little about the field that they're getting into that they said shit that's just totally not correct and so insulting to so many people.
No, they were. This guy, okay, the guy who runs Tokyo Smoke, the bearded fellow. What's his name?
Joke.
Tokyo Joke. I can't remember his name now, but it's like.
Tokyo Jokes and.
He basically. Holy moly! Hey, Craig X is texting me. Hi, Craig X. Oh yeah. He was saying, and I remember the clip. He's like, "Oh, well, mostly, cannabis places or the cannabis industry is like a heap of garbage. Like everything that came." And I'm not kidding. Yeah. He was like literally describing it as a heap of garbage.
The only types of bongs that we see are dragon style.
Oh yeah, that whole thing.
That's it. That's the only.
Two sizes.
Yeah.
Small, big.
Yeah, what a goof. That's why people call it Tokyo Joke, because they just are so out of touch with actual weed smokers that they don't know what they're getting into. And they had a bong.
So much confidence being like, this is how it is, and not expecting people to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? The comment section on all those videos were the best, because people would be like dropping pictures of their headies and stuff like that and being like, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah. Oh, it fell off.
Also, how much art is there really required in producing a 3D printed bong? Really?
Not that kind, anyway.
Yeah, that's really not that. If you're doing them all one of a kind and designing something crazy on your computer and then custom printing them for people, that's pretty cool, yeah.
Everyone's hitting the token.
Wait a second. I'm not against the idea.
I'm not against the idea, but to try to market it in a way that makes it seem like it's the be-all, end-all, it's better than everything else that's been in the market.
Don't hate on 3D printed bongs just because those guys are jerks.
Start a company that has 3D printed bongs. Whatever.
They might make a good one.
Do it.
Somebody might make a good one, and you don't even necessarily have to make them one-offs. You can make a cool one and mass produce it, but it's the way it's them thinking that they're better than other people. That's what makes it lame. It's like, it's come out and say, "Oh, we're better than everybody else. Look at all your shit. But piles of garbage you guys have." Yeah. It's like, that's not how you do business. And these guys, obviously, that was probably a big learning lesson for them, because I think that they probably hear that.
Trying to recover from that ever since.
Yeah.
That was their big launch, and they've really put their foot in their mouths right in front of the community that they're trying to appeal to right off the bat.
Yeah.
They never will.
Gotta be careful with that. Wow. Well, that was good. Cookie's not dabbing, so I think we're done.
We're done. Done like
it's
dinner.
7:01. We made the 3 hours. There. Bam.
Marathon. 7:10. I'm just kidding.
Marathon.
Well, I guess we should go now. I'm going to go over to High Score for a little bit, actually.
Legal weed.
Make sure you tune in on Monday for our pre-legalization show.
420 Lifestyle pre-legalization show. Nice. Word to Big Bird. Yep. And there's lots of great shows on Pod TV all week long, so tune in. And we'll be back next Friday with another show after in the legal world.
Maybe we'll have some legal weed to show off.
Maybe.
Maybe we won't.
I can't wait to start seeing this legal weed.
You could go online and place an order at the Ontario Cannabis Store.
I don't think they can ship out of province, can they?
Well, get them to ship to Soda province so they get to ship it to me.
There you go, genius.
Oh yeah.
Biggity bam.
Boof boof boof.
So maybe
it's not like their Air Canada employees are going to be sniffing all the boxes for weed anymore, because they're all going to fucking smell like weed now.
Oh man, it's going to be so funny to see their cannabis, like recreational, and just check it out. And there's going to be lots of online reviewing.
Oh.
So, and we're gonna do the same. Bring you the goods and tell you what's good and what's not. True. The fire inspector segment.
We'll be like, oh, this shit's crap.
The fire inspector suit.
That
That's
day.
going to be a dope little segment. We got to do it.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'll try going to wherever my next day off. Kamloops. Where's Kamloops? 3 hours?
We should take a trip.
Yeah, let's do
Road
it.
trip.
What is it actually going to be open on the 1st?
17th at 11 o'clock at night.
Man, maybe we should. Should we? How long does it take to drive there?
3 hours? I don't know.
Oh, dude, we're doing it. We're doing it. We should do it on the 17th, maybe. See, we could go to Victoria, do the whole legalization thing there, come back, drive straight up. Wait, what time are they open till? Go the day after.
You know they're probably
go on
gonna
the
sell out first thing in
18th.
the morning.
They probably will sell it.
They're probably gonna
You know
sell
what we
out.
do?
Like, I don't think any the few. Yeah, but I mean, how much weed can you possibly have on site when there's only such a limited number in the entire country starting? Everyone wants to buy weed on the day it was legal so that they can say years from now, I bought weed on the day it was legal.
We're going to do a Pod TV road trip to the store.
3.5 hours.
It's gonna be
3.5 hours.
We're probably gonna
We're doing
be in
it.
the lineup for 3.5 hours.
I don't think maybe we shouldn't do it on day 1. Maybe we should do it on day 2. Because then...
If they run out of weed, we'll be like, oh.
I do want to go check out Victoria, I've got to be honest.
You haven't checked out Victoria.
Well, I've never been to Victoria in general, but I'm interested to see what's going on down there for the 17th.
You've never been there at all?
It seems like there's a lot of people from our community coming together, so I think that would be a pretty cool place to celebrate. Remember it with all the people that, you know, have
We
been
could go to
working
the
so
store.
hard.
We'll go to the legal store a day early.
Just rap on the window like point.
No, your calendar's wrong. Your calendar's wrong. Ours is right. It's the 17th.
Maybe they open at midnight.
Maybe they do.
Stay and then
Well, like you can call them and see.
they're not open.
They might have a question line.
It excites me to go in there.
Well, me too. I just want to buy legal
Yeah.
weed too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not against legal weed. I'm happy.
Maybe we're gonna get it
Yeah.
and it's gonna be
Shitty weed,
fire.
I'm gonna complain. That's all I gotta say.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you can take it back and be like, I'd like my money back. This is garbage.
Well, yeah. Are they
We should
enforcing
do
a no
that.
return
If it
policy?
is, we'll look at it in the parking lot, and if it's not good, we'll try to take it back and be like, sorry, this is crap.
They'll be like, yeah, sorry, get out of here.
They probably will.
They haven't realized
Final sale.
no filming laws. So it's not an issue, it's legal.
Oh, we should. Oh, we're filming inside the store. Fucking rights we are.
Bring the return in.
Yeah, what? Even if we have to just do it and not do it, whatever. If they try to tell us to go away, then we'll go away. But whatever, we're filming. We should.
Some kind of new fine, part of those 43 new fines, eh?
Yeah, you're not allowed to look at the cannabis. Nobody's allowed to see what's going on in here.
Tinted out windows.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. All right. I think we're good. I think we've ended the show like
Okay,
4 or
bye.
5 times now. Bye,
Love
Pod
your-
TV. Love ya. Drug peace.